Okay. Alright, do the usual. Okay. Hello, Jake Yorkman. How are you? Thanks for joining us, Jake. I'm glad you're looking forward to it. I'm just going to share this. Just going to do the usual and share it around, you know. Okay. Put it on Twitter. I'll just do it hashtag UAP report and hashtag UAPTF report. There we go. And on Facecloth. Okay. Excuse me. Thank you. Okay. I'm just going to share this around some groups which might fit. Probably, let's have a think. I'll just do this, some usual groups. This won't take a moment, guys. I'll be with you in a moment. Hope you're all right. I'm a little bit I'm a little bit tired. I mean, I just had a late night because I was doing the video. Like, did you see the video I did last night? I think some of you have. I did a video last night. It was like really late. I didn't get to bed till about 3 a.m. I went to work today, but I only did 2 jobs, so I finished about an hour ago. Okay, I'm just going to share some more interesting groups. Hope you're doing all right, guys. Oh, Jake Yorkman, Woody Black, DJ B2, and David. Hello, guys. How are you? No, I'll just do it a few more groups. Yeah, I'm a member of so many groups I hardly post. Oh, they just don't think I'm spamming, because I'm not. I'm just. What was the last one I did? That'll do. Oh, I hope you guys are all right. I went off late. I was a bit late last night, but I was just like really. I wanted to get it done. I just wanted to say, you know, I just wanted to get the video that I did last night done. I badly wanted to do that. Anyway, guys, hello. Jake Yorkman says, Ben, can I just ask, what are your views on the sky rods or fish? Caught footage of one, and I've posted it on YouTube. Well, I used to think they were like digital photo artifacts, but excuse me. But you know, Nick Hayes, I think there's something to it. Nick Hayes has captured some interesting things like that. I reckon there's something to it, you know. I reckon there's something to these skyfish, these rods. DJ B2, I was pissed up like a tart last night and did a stream on the Buds chat. No, right. Hello, Michael Snow, how are you? Oh, I hope you guys are doing all right. I'm just hoping everyone's all happy. Hello, Tina Silver, how are you? Hey Tina, nice of you to join us, guys. Just 17 views at the moment. This might not be a very good live stream. I'm just really tired. Opening a window might help, Ben. All right, yeah. It's Tina's seen a sky rod. DJ with the breathing thing. I've not seen one. I've seen photos. I've been with Nick Hayes when he's done photos. He's taken photos of these things, and he can attract them as well using orgone energy. Hello, Bumbelina. How are you? I'm not bad, thanks. But I think there's something to it, I really do. Nick, you've seen the videos I did with Nick Case, the Invisibles. Hello, Jill D. How are you? Hello, David Splendination. Guten Abend, Benjamin. Yeah. God, these Italians get everywhere, don't they? Tina, where did you really see one with your own eyes, not just a photo? That's amazing. Jake, I will have a look. All right, Jake, I'll have a look at your video. I will. Zothantiops. Ben, have you got any updates for the debate with Steve Mumbling? He's not been in touch yet. I did give him my email address. He says he's just setting up his own email. I don't know. Does he not have an email already? But, yeah, come on, Steve. Let's have you. What's the matter? You seem to be a little bit hesitant. Come on, get in touch. That's quite something, Tina, yeah. No, I just if I'm a little bit drowsy today. This may not be a long one. I'm a little bit drowsy. I've also worked out I have to do a comments reply video this weekend, because if I don't, I won't get the chance again until after the conferences that are coming up, which will be the middle of next month. DJ Beatrice says I saw orbs twice, and my mum was with me. All right. Tina and DJ, that's unusual. Seeing them with your own eyes is an unusual thing. It really is. Zothantiops says it's hard to believe Steve Mumbling was once in England. It's a kind of like the legend of Joseph Arimathea, Jesus in Glastonbury or something. Yes, those sacred feet walked these ancient lands. And he went to Glastonbury, he looked at all the shops selling all tat, and he thought, what absolute rubbish. David, I am going to thrash Mumbling, yeah, I can't wait. He's got my email. I posted my email to him. He says he's just going to set up his own email and he's going to be in touch. Well, that was about a week ago now, so yeah. Is he actually going to get in touch with me? Hatchie. Hi Ben, I'm in my shed in Hampshire, Southampton. Oh right. Zothantiops said, what conferences are coming up? I thought Kerry Cassidy's was cancelled. I've seen nothing of the kind. Let me just check my emails, because I'm a speaker there, you see. I have heard nothing I've nothing to indicate that Kerry's conference is cancelled. Miles is going ahead. Kerry hasn't been in touch with any of us to tell us it's been cancelled. I'm assuming it's still on. Where did you hear it's been cancelled? If not, well, I'm speaking at Miles's conference the following weekend, which is excuse me, bases at the barge. Bases at the barge. That's going ahead. Miles got 10 more seats. He managed to get all the 10 more seats. McGray's 9 Owl. That's a good name. G'day, Ben. Ever heard of or seen the old VHS footage of the Guardian UFO incident encounter about 1991? No, I haven't. I've not heard of that one. Paul Curtis, as predicted, they didn't give us much from the report, but I always believe it's UFOs. Michael Stone Mumblewink. Yeah, Steve Bumbling's a cower, lol. Yeah, come on, Steve, let's have you. Come on, get in touch with me. Let's get this set up. Zai, did Miles? When did Miles say it was cancelled? Was it that video he did? I don't think it is. I'll just double check. Hang on. I've not been contacted. Watford. Let's have a look. 5th Annual Wake and Aware Conference, Thursday 22nd, Friday... hang on. Thursday the 22nd, Friday 23rd of July. That's not right, is it? Oh, I thought it was this weekend. Oh, sorry, I thought it was next weekend. Thursday 22nd, Friday 23rd of July. Oh, they might have shifted it because of the lockdown. Yeah, Arvon Jones, Darren Brown, there's Kerry, it's me. Right. Still going ahead. Alright, they've changed the dates. 1-9, right, okay. No worries, I'll have to just rearrange it. I'll have to rearrange it. No worries. I'll just double check the... Bloody hell, good job I looked that up. Good job I looked that up, guys. Yeah, it's not been cancelled, but it has moved to different dates. It's moved. It's now on the third week. It's actually not a weekend event. It's evening weekend, Thursday and Friday, the 22nd, 23rd. I'm supposed to be going. I've been invited to another event on Saturday, so I'll have to go straight from there, I think. Yeah. There's an event in London today. I looked for it to try and find it advertised. There was some big protest. I was thinking of going to that, but I couldn't see it advertised anywhere, so I didn't go. But I've just been texted by Colin Wolford. He's at the event, and so are a couple of other people. But you'd rather be here talking to you, wouldn't you? Hi, Legend Real. How are you? You're not a fan of football, actually. Is there football on at the moment? I haven't been following it, actually. I can't stand this taking the knee thing. It's just ruining it. Cocky, hello. The early bird catches the worms. I'm glad you all got up early. It's a lovely sunny day in Oxford. Yeah, it's we've got 29 viewers now. Going for 12 minutes. So, what did you think of the report? I mean, how many of you saw the video? Put a 1 in chat if you've seen the video that I made late last night. Which I made it during the course of the evening. I uploaded it. So, just put number 1 in chat. Cocky, Wales are playing Denmark. Oh, come on, Wales! I know I lose. I always cheer on my own team, but it's just I can't stand the culture of it all now. David, thank you. It's no good for a man to be on his knees. I know, Hatchie, it's a horrible gesture, and I hate to see the players doing it. Thank you, Mr. Grey Owl, and Woody Black, and David. There's another David. Thank you. Hello, Gavin YT. Yeah, Jake Yorkman, Cocky, brilliant. Thank you. I wanted to do that basically just because I wanted to be there filming when it all happened. And I had to break off for an hour and a half because I had to interview this guy, John Stewart. And I did that. And when I came back, the report had dropped. Check in Git 1. Hello. Thank you. Thank you as well. You did as well. That's great. The more of you, the better who saw that video because I just go through the actual event. Give a summary of what they said, Gavin. All right. Well, I can do. It's there's basically it doesn't really say an awful lot that hasn't been said before, and it's really what it does prove is the leak was accurate. The leak to the New York Times a couple of weeks ago, that was accurate. DJ, no problem, mate. You can catch up with it. The leak was accurate. What they did say, in summary, was that they studied 423 cases and they can't explain. Excuse me. They can't explain 422. DJ was pissed as a fart. All right. The only one they can explain is that Batman balloon. Well, the UFO community explained that quite a long time ago. Although I know it's still under dispute in some corners. I think there's no doubt really. They said that they also added that UAPs can be a danger to air travel, so they can be a hazard to airline passengers and things like that. But anyway, we can have a look through it. Now, there are a couple of interesting bits in it. They basically split everything into a number of groups. They wanted everything split into 5 different segments, these UAPs. 1, airborne clutter, that's birds, balloons, things like that. Just blowing plastic bags, and things like that. natural atmospheric phenomena, ice crystals, thermal fluctuations, and things like that. American-made developmental programs, that is classified material made by the US, that's secret aircraft, things like that. And foreign adversary systems, which is the same thing for Russia, China, or other entities on Earth, other nations. And finally, the other thing. Now, the other thing is the most interesting bit, because they said this. Although most UAP described in our dataset probably remain unidentified due to limited data or challenges to collection, processing, or analysis, we may require additional scientific knowledge to successfully collect on, analyze, and characterize some of them. We would group such objects in this category pending scientific advances that allow us better to understand them. The UAPTF intends to focus additional analysis on a small number of cases where a UAP appeared to display unusual flight characteristics or signature management. That really kind of means it's a short way of saying they could be aliens. Oh, I've come up with a different word now. I've come up with a different one here. AONHCs. That's artificial objects of non-human construction. I thought that was like a bit better because UAP really has already been culturally appropriated by us, you see. So, yeah. Hachi says, Ben, is there a reason why football players wear shorts? I mean, in the 60s, Mary Quant invented the miniskirt. It's changing time. I don't know. DJ's trying to get rid of a hangover. All right. Good luck, mate. Good luck. I had a couple of glasses of wine last night. Hachi. I'm having scotch. All right, DJ, try a hair of the dog, mate. I hope they don't ask Chris shitty. Well, I hope him and Hancock should both be kicked out. Hancock for being a hypocritical bastard, and Chris Whitty for having evil eyes. I think he looks like a vampire, doesn't he? Anyway, you see, the artificial objects of non-human construction, seen as UAP is now our word. It's a tinfoil hat word now. But AONHCs, at some point, I think they're going to have to do that. I think this is where that report doesn't go quite far enough. It's you could see like it almost wants to say it at some points. Now, page 5 is very interesting. Page 5 is the most interesting of this very short 9-page document. It's called a preliminary assessment, which means the word preliminary hopefully means we're going to get more. This is the first publication of the UAPTF. Obviously, there is what they call the annex, which is classified material. That the annex is, I hope, we'll get access to. They're going to hold some stuff back. But I've got the feeling that a lot of that will be... Excuse me. Well, there's a lot of material in there, obviously. They don't publish everything. They have a classified section to their activities as well as a public one. It says here, this is page 5, some UAP appear to remain stationary in winds aloft, move against the wind, manoeuvre abruptly, or move at considerable speed without discernible means of propulsion. In a small number of cases, military aircraft systems processed radio frequency energy associated with UAP sightings, which I think means that they were transmitting some kind of radiation. The UAP holds a small amount of data. The UAPTF holds a small amount of data that appear to show UAP demonstrating acceleration or a degree of signature management. Additional rigorous analysis are necessary by multiple teams or groups of technical experts to determine the nature and validity of these data. We are conducting further analysis to determine if breakthrough technologies were demonstrated. Again, they're like saying it could be. They keep saying it might be, over and over again, without actually saying it. I think it's time that one of them came forward and they don't have to say, it's aliens! They don't have to do that. They just have to say, we have concluded beyond reasonable doubt that some of the UAP we've observed are artificial objects of non-human construction. That's all they have to do. it takes, like Steve Bassett says, it just takes a few seconds. Now, David Isolation has made a good point here. It's also a way of them saying, give us more money. Yeah, it is obviously a funding proposal. Along with everything else, it's a funding proposal, as the History of Mystery guy has said. Increase investment in research and development. This is at the very end of page 7. But 8 and 9 are just like appendix pages. The UAPTF has indicated that additional funding for research and development could further the future study of the topics laid out in this report. Such investment should be guided by UAP collection strategy, UAP R&D technical roadmap, and a UAP program plan. There you are. It is a begging bowl, this preliminary article. There's absolutely no doubt about it. DJ B2 says, Shitty as a cunt. He is, isn't he? He bloody well is. Mr. Greyhouse says, AONHC has a nice ring to it. Yeah, it does. I'm hoping it'll catch on. Hello, Michelle Sovereign. How are you? Hatchie says, Ben, there has never been a time they have been more blatant. I've just found out Winston Churchill liked wearing frilly panties and little boys. Is there no hope? Right. Well, it doesn't surprise me knowing the state of the aristocracy these days. And proselytizing Orthodox Pentecostal Angora rabbit. Hello. Too long didn't watch. Ben waffles a lot, but is once again bitterly disappointed by the lack of any kind of evidence for UFOs at all. All right. Well, you didn't watch it, rabbit, but you seem to know what was in it, did you? Do you? David Splendid Isolation. It's very likely, in my opinion, that the UAPTF have no access to the cabal and their covered-up information, re the truth of UFOs. They're low-level analyzers without above top secrets clearance. Yeah, like, that's what Hynek basically said about Blue Book. DJ said, I had a girlfriend called Michelle. I played her my Michelle to her. Oh, yeah, was it Michelle, my girl? Yeah, she liked it. Oh, good. So, this was disappointing. I didn't drink... My disclosure champagne is under the bed. I was thinking of moving it to the fridge just in case. Just to chill it down. But in the end, I actually didn't. And I'm glad I didn't, because it had been a waste of time. You'd have to just go straight back under the bed. Oh, right. Hatchie says, Ben, they're all related from top, forgive the pun, to bottom, illuminated. My bell, Ben, lol. Oh, suspicion. No, the Guns N' right, the Guns N' Roses one. Oh, right, I see. Got the wrong song. Yeah, got the wrong song. I was thinking of the Beatles. Rabbit says, I enjoy watching Ben make a complete fool out of himself. All right. Well, Rabbit, you may get the chance one day, but that day has not happened yet. So you're going to have to keep waiting, aren't you? Hattie, get the champagne out. No, that's staying where it is. No, I did think about it. I just thought, what is? I want it to be nice and chilled if I'm going to have to crack it tonight. So I thought about moving it to the fridge, but no, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it under the bed. I think I'll just leave it under the bed. Anyway, let's have a listen to. I've got a little thing. First of all, I'll go to the. I want to go to the. Where are the comments that people have left behind? I just want to answer the comments. And we have here. Limespec says, looking forward to it. If I forget, as 2 in the afternoon is a bit unusual, I'll have to watch the recording. All right, Limespecs, well, it is an unusual thing. Jake Yorkman says, I'll be there, and indeed he is. Ado FTW says, so it's not going to be released to the public today. What a shame. I'm waiting months. Well, Adol, it was released to the public, but only the 9-page preliminary. It's nothing. It has some interesting bits in it. I mean, someone actually mentioned something very interesting. They said this reverses the condom report, and in a way it does, actually. I think it's the condom report wouldn't have had the other bit in. The category other, the 5th category. This one does. So it's not as bad as it looks. It's not as bad as it looks. I know a lot of people are... So, this is weird. This guy I was debating with on Facebook, he's like saying, I told you so, I told you so. And it's like weird because everyone in that group has been saying exactly what was going to happen has happened. And he says, I told you so, as if he's the only one who ever thought about it. Ugh. Anyway, let's listen to His Royal Popeness, shall we? I'll just, hang on, should I just, I'm just going to say hello to people. I'll come back to your comments in a minute. I'm just going to play His Royal Popeness. I'll just share the screen. Hang on. There we are.
Fox.
Thank you. It's good to be on, and what a fascinating and historic day, given this news. The subject totally out of the fringe and into the mainstream.
Yeah, and let's get into the report itself, because I was kind of struck by how inconclusive it actually was. We didn't have many answers after the release of the report today, and also you heard.
Come and think, I'll just do audio only, shall I? Because you don't need to. Anyway, this is Nick Pope, praise be upon him, and this is quite long. It's 10 minutes. I might not play all of this, but I just thought it might be amusing. I'll stop it when there's a bit of a point of interest.
From lawmakers too, who were somewhat disappointed. I want to read a statement from Senator Mark Warner. He is one of the chairs of the Senate Intelligence Committee. He essentially said that the U.S. must be able to understand and mitigate threats to our pilots, whether they're from drones or weather balloons or what have you.
Or aliens.
Today's rather inconclusive report, he says, only marks the beginning of efforts to understand and illuminate what is causing these risks to aviation in many areas around the country and around the world. What were your main takeaways today from the report, Nick?
Well, I certainly was intrigued by the part where it said that this is definitely an air safety issue. And of course, we've seen video.
That was quite, I must admit, that was quite something. That was, where was that? That was, I think it was late on, I think it was page 6. Where was it? Yes, UAP threatened flight safety and possible national security. Yeah, ongoing airspace concerns. That actually was a legitimate complaint. That I think that is actually a bit. That's what I didn't expect that bit. That was better than I expected, because of course they are. I mean, there's instances of airliners reporting near collisions with UAPs. There may be some unexplained crashes that were caused by UAPs.
Some fairly close encounters between these objects, whatever they are, and US Navy jets. And it may well be a national security issue too. And that's very important. But I think the thing to stress is it does say this is a preliminary report. And everybody recognizes that there must be now a doubling down of effort on this. And the military intelligence community must get a handle on what's going on in United States airspace. And these things, they're coming so close to our aircraft carriers, destroyers, Navy jets. The report says, well, maybe some...
The thing about it is they know more than they're saying. I mean, Jeremy Corbell did a very interesting interview where he talked about people. I mean, Lou Elizondo, things that they have said. They know more than they're saying. They know that these are AONHCs. Now, they won't say it, but I think they should in private, and I think they are discussing these things in private. They are AONHCs. Also, I mean, my interview with Jon Stewart was very interesting because we went into a lot of areas. You'll hear that on the Hopalmo show next week. There's way more than this. This is just the public face. It's the public face. It's the shop window of a huge department store, but no one's allowed in. You just see the shop window.
Some of it is adversary technology like Russia or China. Maybe some of it is something else. We need to find out.
And you know, one of the
thing is, like, what Nick is doing here. This is interesting. What the Popester is actually saying, because I think he's kind of. What he's saying is almost, it's like, I think, he's almost goading some kind of situation where he pushes the keepers of the truth embargo into a corner. He says, we need to find out You see, Trump did something similar, didn't he? Oh, anyway, I'll go back here a little bit. Where we are. I'll just go through your comments now because I don't want to let them go to get too far behind. David SI says, Ben, so when the UAPTF have no teeth to get access to what really is known about UFOs for the last 70 years, how can we expect this to go very far? Redisclosure. At the moment, I would say we can't. From what we've seen so far, we can't. All we can do is hold their feet to the fire. Call them out. And you can bet this, everyone from UFO Jesus to Lou Elizondo right now is probably making videos just like this one to get them, to put them in a very, very tricky position where they are trapped, essentially, into admitting that they're lying. Hatchie says, Ben, research Mark Devlin. You know him as in the Beatles and the music industry, lol. Yes, indeed, Hatchie. In fact, he's appeared in a couple of my videos, like these. He appeared in the Dr. Strangelove one. Jake says, have any of you studied the Billy Meyer SETI? I know a little bit about it, yeah. I know he's the guy who produced some really amazing photos. I know most people, he's dismissed as a crank by most of the UFO community. I think David Griffin takes him seriously. Rabbit says, yeah. Oh no, Rabbit. DJ, I'll listen to that. I'll listen to that. I will. The Guns N' Roses thing. All right. Rabbit, is Nick Pope still going? I take my hat off to him. Being able to sustain a career talking about guff and nonsense without ever actually saying anything is quite a feat. Well, Rabbit, I actually think you're right. I think the definition of guff and nonsense and the perspective we come from on it is different. Because we both think he's talking guff and nonsense. I think it's for a different reason, from a different perspective. But yeah, basically that's what he's doing. He's now a freelance journalist. He lives in the United States. He's married to an American woman. And I think he's burnt his bridges with British ufology ever since his London Olympics thing. He started talking. He wrote an article about the alien invasion threat, right? And it's like, oh, Popey. I can just move my camera around a bit because I think I'm a little bit badly framed. Popester, he starts writing an article about the alien invasion threat. It turns out it was a piece of viral marketing for a computer game. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking to Nick Pope, guys, because I think he's a fount of wisdom. It's interesting to hear what he's saying. That's all. Hatchie says the one I don't understand is crop circles. They're real. I've walked amongst a few. Real ones that are woven rug, beautiful. Yeah, that fascinating things. Fascinating. I hope I get to be in one at some point. Michelle says Ben has a beautiful aura. Oh, thanks, Michelle. DJ says Pope is a gatekeeper cut. Yeah, he is, isn't he? Nick Pope, a pound lounge. Fox Mulder says copy. Yeah. Rabbit says, well, obviously Ben would know. He is, after all, at the heart of the situation, sitting in his bedsit. Like, oh dear. You see, well, where do you live then, Rabbit? Do you live in a mansion or something? Hey, Tiberius Kirk is here, Ben. It's the Russians, yes. Russians get blamed for everything, aren't they? What are they? Gay bashers, computer hackers, poisoners, dangerous pilots. The Russian thing's ridiculous. Honestly, I don't believe a word of it. I saw see the Sun's latest headline, Vlad the Cad, talking about Putin. I mean, how utterly juvenile and stupid can you get? Well, it's the Sun. What do you expect? David says, has Jenny Randalls weighed in? Where is she? Has she retired? She's been very quiet lately. I mean, I met her last year at the not last year, the year before. Last year was coronavirus lockdown. I met her at the Lapis conference. I got a photo of myself with her. She did a talk there. She's just I've not seen or heard anything from her now. She's getting on a bit now, isn't she? So I don't know. Jake, I'll check out your channel. All right, your rod picture and your were you the one who saw the rod photos? Oh, you did. You saw photos of rods, didn't you? And your drone footage, yeah. But it's great. Thanks for joining us. Tiberius Kirk, of course, you know very well. He's he can own up who he is if you want, but he's been in my videos many times. And he's a bit of a filmmaker himself. I don't know if he's going public with his identity yet, so I won't say any more. Anyway, let's go back to his lordship, the great Pope the First.
The things that struck out to me was they looked back at all of these sightings from 2004 until the present day. They only could explain one of them of the 144 cases. And so, where does this go from here? Is this kind of, the last report that Congress will ask for? It's leaving more questions than answers tonight, Nick.
Well, that's good. Now, what's he going to say now? Because the right answer to that is yes. The Congress and everyone else is going to be reading this report. They're going to be asking questions, and the UAPTF is going to be put in a position where they have to give more information. That is what I would say. But what is Nick Pope the Dope? He walks with the lope. What's he going to say?
Yes, and I think it's very clear from, for example, the statement that you read from Mark Warner, but from other people, and I'm understanding that there have been briefings already on this, not just in the Intelligence Committee, but the Armed Services Committee in both the Senate and the House. So it is clear that more work is needed on this. And I know they've made a big thing of this 144 sightings. Let's be very clear. This is the tip of the iceberg, and they've just dipped a toe.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah. It's the tip of the iceberg is simply the areas like alien scientists were saying. Well, how come it's only off California and Florida? How come they don't appear anywhere else? And he says that's because Northrop Grumman is based here and Lockheed Martin is based there. No, it's probably more likely to do with information streams. It's quite likely other units on other areas of the coast are seeing the same thing.
Toe in the water here. There are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of these sightings. Many of them didn't previously get reported. That hopefully will change now the stigma has gone. And certainly it's my hope that the Senate Intelligence Committee, but the other committees and subcommittees that are involved in this too, will continue to push Director of National Intelligence for answers on this and for action. We need more resources brought to bear on this problem.
Well, that's a typical piece of papal verbosity there. He went around it a long way, but it all came back to, well, Congress has got the various committees, and Congress has got to deal with it. It's about giving them more resources and things like that. I'd be focusing more on the public. I'd be saying more things like, well, the public are going to have to really take an interest in this. This is what I hope will happen. The public will read that and they won't buy it. That's what I hope will happen. So let me just ask you a question. Let's go through this. Michel Sovereign, I think most are fake, but some seem real. Either way, I like reading the messages in them. Oh, that's crop circles. Yeah, that's true. I think some are real. Yeah, Hachi says, I think they're talking about Mac Handycock Francis, yeah. Nick the Dope, Nick Pope walks with a rope. Nick is a shilly shill, suspect shill, shilly. Yeah, cocky. I've blocked him. I've fallen out with him completely. Basically, his conduct towards people, specifically Larry Warren and several other people. He's attacked me. He's attacked Tiberius Kirk, Gary Hazeltine. He said horrible things about it. Well, he hasn't named us, but he said things like, "Oh, a few of Larry Warren's family and friends and things like that, who are just nobodies with no impact at all. No one cares what they think and stuff like that." So, and he said he was particularly nasty about repeating rumours about Gary, which were just Gary Hazeltine had a lot of because he was like on the forefront of this, organising conferences and things like that, and being involved with Capel Green. The trolls started coming out with all kinds of accusations. Supposedly they got in touch with one of his ex-girlfriends and dug up dirt on him. Nick Pope repeated this without question. You got to ask yourself, why is Nick Pope? Why is Nick Pope doing this? Why wouldn't you think this would be beneath him? Yeah, he's a big media star, yet he's breaking bread with people who are it's just basically internet bullies, completely unimpressive, useless people who contribute nothing, people who have literally done nothing. They have contributed nothing to the subject at all. The only reason people know their names is because of the drama they generate. And who do they attack? People who have done something. Witnesses, researchers, journalists, filmmakers, people who do contribute. And who's Nick Pope sided with him? Which side's Nick Pope taken? He's taken their side. Same with Peter Robbins. He's done exactly the same thing. Why? Oh man. Anyway, that's why I blocked Nick Pope, and I want nothing more to do with him. Rabbit says, strange people like Ben are normally so paranoid about their own governments, but when it comes to the ex-KGB secret policeman sitting in the Kremlin, they refuse to believe anything bad about him. What do you mean? I don't think Putin is perfect, but I do believe he is not doing he is essentially the Russian Trump. He's not doing what's required of him, what a man in his position would be required of him. I think ever since about 1989... The entire New World Order agenda went off the rails regarding Russia. They didn't intend for the Soviet Union to end. That was not part of the globalist plan, and it did. And now they've been desperately trying to contain the situation. But Russia really has broken away big time from the New World Order. It really has. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying that Vladimir Putin is a David Icke wannabe. He's essentially a Russian nationalist. But this is why I reckon he will be the disclosure president. Putin will be the disclosure president. Russia's the one's going to come from first. I think it'll be Russia. Russia has the richest database of UFO reports in the world, because during the Soviet era they actually had a massive UFO task force already in place. They had a huge number of people were employed by it. And that could come out. I know that because the KGB leaked a lot of stuff out. That's how that Roger Moore thing was made, which I covered in my debate with Steve Mumbling. But Russia still has an awful lot there. Cocky says, years ago I see an interview and Pope was endorsing the official 9/11 narrative. From day one my spidey senses was onto them. Yeah. Pope, he did that debate with Anthony Hilder. Yeah. David says, but if you could, would you do an interview with Shane Ryan? Do you think he'd come on? David, I've written to him and he didn't write back. I know the guy you're talking about deals with the Australian cases, especially Westall. He didn't write back. I did invite him on because I did a 50th anniversary special for Westall in 2016. I ended up with Richard Wright. I asked Keith Basterfield as well, and he wrote back, but he said no thanks. He doesn't want anything to do with this case anymore. But I'd like to talk to him. Yeah, I'd like to talk to Shane. If for some reason my message didn't get through, Shane, if you're watching, get in touch. Mr. Grey 9 Owl says the disclosure effect feels analogous to the feds finally opening up the pub to Gen Pop and discharging full pop for watered down drinks. That's a good analogy. It's like Kenny Everett. I don't use shampoo, I use real poo. Michelle says, all right, okay. Rabbit doesn't even know what's meant by New World Order. Well, basically, it's my word for the general tidal set of politics in the modern world and for the last few decades and beyond, which is towards greater authoritarianism and internationalism. That's what I mean by New World Order. Hatchie says all the world's governments talk and work with each other. Look at the lockdown situation. Yeah, well, unfortunately, most of them do. Yeah, I mean, the lockdown seems to have created some kind of unity that didn't exist before, and that's very distressing to see, especially with Boris Johnson. I thought he might be our Vlad Putin. I thought he might be our Trump, our Putin. I thought Britain now is going to join this axis of freedom, this triumvirate of liberation against the New World Order. I had big dreams. I really did, but David says, Ben, I listened to your show on Westall a few days ago again. Really good. Thanks, mate. Thank you. I did have a good guest. Richard Wright is always a great guy to get on. I mean, he's a good, close personal friend. I always, if I need to do a UFO show, I always turn to him if I can't get... Well, no offence, Richard, but if I can't get any of the specialist researchers, I'll bring Richard on. Mr. Grey Owl says, Ben, is your opinion that all 9 pages are nothing but blue pills, or is there a red one in there somewhere? There are a few pink spots here and there. Like I said, page 5 is the most interesting, with its reference to those two clauses in page 5 about radio frequency transmissions, and that they talk about the physical characteristics and behaviour. That's very interesting because it's very, very difficult. To actually, it's difficult to try and explain this as anything other than AONHCs. They appear stationary in winds, move against the wind. That rules out aerostats. So that's balloons and airships, right? They're not balloons and airships. It says here, move at considerable speed without discernible means of propulsion. And they transmit, in a small number of cases, radio frequency signatures at aircraft. And then this second paragraph here, which basically it's a very Nick Popian kind of phrase, actually. The UAPTF holds a small amount of data that appear to show UAPs demonstrating acceleration or a degree of signature management. It talks about rigorous analysis, etc., etc. That's very Popian. So there are a few pink spots in there, guys. It really is. It's not the red pill I hoped for. Well, actually, it's not the red pill I knew would never come, because my hopes were never high to begin with, despite the fact that a certain gentleman on Facebook in the East Anglia group is going to be going, Ben, why did you say it was definitely aliens? You were 100% convinced it was going to be aliens, but I told you it wasn't. You know who you are if you're watching. Hi, Ronnie Barkey, how are you? Great, thank you very much. He says, great live stream. Keep up the good work. Thanks very much. A bit slow to get going. I'm a little bit drowsy, I know. I am a bit sleepy because I didn't go to bed till after 3 a.m. Actually, Rabbit says, do you know anything at all about Putin, Ben? You could get more information, more authoritarian than the Putin regime. I don't have time to go into that now, Rabbit, but I do suggest you listen to my interviews with Nick Colostrum on Panro Radio, my last few. I think you'll find them very interesting. We'll go into that in more detail. Hatchie says, Ben, did man walk on the moon? Buzz Lightyear certainly didn't. Yeah, people have walked on the moon, Hatchie. People have walked probably on all the planets in the solar system. Not the gas giants, obviously, but their moons. In the secret space program, yeah. I don't believe that NASA put men on the moon. I don't believe they did. But, yeah, the secret space program has probably explored 100 times as far as the known space program. Ronnie Barkey, see you Thursday. Hey, Ronnie, I'm glad you'll be there, mate. It's John Stewart. I've got a very interesting guest this Thursday coming. John Stewart. I interviewed him yesterday. Very interesting guy indeed. He's not very well known, but I tell you what, he should be, and hopefully he will be. Soon. I'm going to be helping with that. David says, Ben, I have Preston Dennett's book on schoolyard UFO sightings, and there are over 100 that he's investigated and collected. Right, yeah. I've heard of Preston Dennett, David, but there are schoolyard children are often these schoolyard UFO landings. I know of 3 specifically. That is Rua, Zimbabwe, Broadhaven, Wales, and Westall, Australia. But there are many others. All those 3 are quite similar, actually. But yeah, I know it's weird, isn't it? You remember that thing I went to visit in London, the Bexley Heath thing? I went to the place where it happened. Now, there was a landing outside a school there, and that was in 1955. And I do wonder, what's going on? Michel says, maybe they use electromagnetism. Well, this is the interesting thing, because that's the human areas of research. That is the secret anti-gravity research, which it's been running sort of it started in Germany in the early 1930s. It carried on post-war in the United States and other countries. It tend to follow, there were two main experimental routes. One was the use of electromagnetism, that was the Byfield-Brown effect. And the other is rotation. That is like, that's where they basically did it. They did a lot of that in Russia, in the realm of rotation. That was I forgot the name of the Russian guy who talked about it, but he worked on spinning rings and discs to create anti-gravity effects. The Germans helped with that. The Operation Paperclip, the Nazi scientists. They built on the work of those guys who worked in the 1930s. Angkor Rabbit. Ben's muddled thinking leaves him to La La Land. That's a non-axiomatic assertion, Rabbit. In other words, it's just you're just saying something. You're not providing an argument. DJ, from what I hear, the London protests. I'll just check with my Facebook actually, because I was texting Colin Woolford about this. Let's see if he's replied. He hasn't replied, no. But he did say he's in Hyde Park. There's apparently a large crowd there. I was going to go to this, but I couldn't see it advertised anywhere, and I thought I wasn't sure it was on. But I realised I had to deal with this as well, the UAP thing as well. Angkor Rabbit. Who is Nick Colostrom? Well, he is a scientist. He actually researches all kinds of things, including some very controversial areas I can't even mention on YouTube. But he specialises in false flag terrorism, the C word. He's looked into the lockdown and things like that. The C word meaning this disease that's been ravaging the world. And he's also studied Paul McCartney, the fact that Paul McCartney is dead. I was on the fence with that for a long time. I'm not anymore. Paul McCartney is dead. I'm afraid he is. Hatchie says, Ben, how do we get through the Van Allen belt? Well, with you can because the Van Allen belt is made up of charged particles. Now, you can actually protect yourself with an electromagnetic shield, and that's essentially what the Earth does. The Earth is we on the ground here on Earth do not get irradiated by the sun because the Earth has an electromagnetic field which deflects alpha and beta particles away from the Earth. That's what the Van Allen belts are. The Van Allen belts are essentially is a kind of it's got a shock wave caused by the solar wind hitting the Earth's magnetic field. Diego Rivera, would you shake hands with an alien, Ben? If it had hands, I probably would. Yeah, if it was that green girl from Star Trek, I'd shake more than her hand. I'll tell you. But obviously, if they looked dangerous and they had like sharp teeth and claws, I wouldn't shake their hands. No. David says the propulsion system of flying saucers is the real ones is gravitational field propulsion. This is the best way to move it, as it entirely eliminates inertia and friction, and the speed of light. This is what Bob Lazar was saying. Bob Lazar described how these things work in great detail. Michel Sovereign, think he died in a car crash. Paul McCartney did, yes. He did in sometime between September and November of 1966. He died. He was killed, and they covered it up. They got someone else in to impersonate him, and the man we call Paul McCartney is that man. Rabbit says, I found him. Nicholas Colostrom. Oh, conspiracy theorist, a word I can't say. And all-round useful idiot. I should have guessed that would be your man. Okay, Rabbit, when you say you found him, you mean you've read his Wikipedia page, which is biased and it is completely unfair towards him. I suggest you listen to my various interviews with him, including the one I did. I did a dialogue with him in a Truth Seekers Northeast. My first Truth Seekers Northeast event was me and Nick Colostrom. David said gravitational field propulsion, warping, bending space-time. Hello, Rebecca. How are you? Hello, Checking Git. Hello, Al McCall. How are you? We've got 3 late arrivals. How are you doing, guys? Rabbit, I think you'll have to excuse me if I don't take anything Nick Colostrom says at all seriously. Rabbit, if you want to just read a Wikipedia page and believe it and judge a man based on that alone, I can't stop you. And I know you, I know what you're like, and I know you're likely to do that. Jake Yorkman, have you ever been to RAF Findingdales, Ben? I haven't, no. I know they air shows there, don't they? Rivera, Hancock has slippery hands. Yeah, so his secretary said, didn't he? Oh, good. What a absolute piece of shit. How dare he? How dare he lecture us on that and then break the rules himself? Mind you, look at G7. They were doing it all the time, weren't they? Once they got away from that, once they'd gone, they finished their press conference. They just went to the barbecue and sort of, slapped each other's backs and hung out like normal people, didn't they? Caroline McGreal, hi. Please check out testingtheglobe.com, celebratetruth.org, Globebusters, Whitey and Rockin', because the truth is out there, Rockfin. Right, yes. And no doubt Mark Sargent, David Weiss, Anthony, Santos Bonacci, Dave Murphy. Look, Caroline, when it comes to the flat earth argument, I have looked at it. Honestly, I haven't just laughed and thrown my hands up and walked away. I've debated the flat earth with people. The earth is round. The earth is a globe. And jet aircraft do need fuel. Yeah. Rebecca says, I remember this. I was 12 and me and my friends were crying then. Proof he's back. Full pull. You know, Rebecca, did you know about his death? Because it was rumoured right back from when it happened. There were people talking about it, saying, is he still alive? Because he disappeared. He appeared at the Melody Makers Award at the Post Office Tower in September '66, and there's that famous photo of him with Dusty Springfield and Tom Jones. He was there. You could see with the vista of London behind them through the window on up the top of this very tall building. That was the last photograph we know of ever taken of Paul McCartney. Then he disappeared, and then he comes back as this tall guy with a moustache, and that's when they start working on the Sgt. Pepper album, and he's wearing this kind of psychedelic, all these psychedelic cavalry frills and things. He's completely changed his image. Oh, Jake says Findingdales is an underground base. David says, did you see the remote viewer who was given a blind target to view, and it was the Roswell crash? He described a round-shaped craft, how the material felt and how it changed the space around it. It rings a bell. I don't know specifically, but a lot of remote viewers have dealt with that, yeah. Rabbit says, well, to be honest, and not to be insulting Ben, like you've never done that before, Rabbit, eh? The very fact he sat down with you kind of shows he's hardly likely to be sane. Oh, right. That's another non-axiomatic assertion. Rebecca says, oh, you were a schoolgirl in love with Paul. Nick Colstrom is bang on. Rebecca, yeah, it's a lot of people did, a lot of people knew, because where did he disappear to for 2? He disappeared for 2 damn months, didn't he? And he comes back looking entirely different, tall guy, and there's so much more evidence of everything that happened with the Beatles since then. Sort of really, there's so many things that gave it away after that. The Beatles completely transformed after that. Within 4 years, they were finished. And they've never got over it. And you can see there's the solo careers that happened after that. Yeah. But Rebecca, it was a horrible tragedy, wasn't it? Yeah, I know how popular Paul was. Actually, Billy Shears, check out Mark Devlin. Yes, Mark, I know Mark, of course. He's a good friend of mine. And I've got a copy of the memoirs of Billy Shears. Billy Shears, it's a joke, you see, because the real name, the man we call Paul McCartney, or most people call Paul McCartney today, his real name is Sir William Shepherd, and it's Billy Shepherd Shears. See, it's a joke. He's knighted, so he's called Sir William Shepherd. People. It's an open secret. I mean, there are people in the music industry who know who he is. There's even a recording of someone saying "Bye, Bill," to him, walking away saying "Bye, bye, Bill," and he waves back. I can't remember who it was, but Mark has talked about it. and Nick as well. Like she just forgot she forgot the script for a moment. Says, "Hang on, we're not in private. The TV cameras are on. Oh, sorry. I meant goodbye, Paul." Hello, Jorge Rodriguez. Hello, Ben from Melbourne, Australia. Hi, Jorge. How are you? I've never been to Melbourne. I've been to Australia. I went to Canberra, Sydney, and Alice Springs. Never went to Melbourne. Oh, Jorge, do you know the Westall School, Jorge? Because if you don't, look into that. That's a local case, mate. Very interesting. Jake Yorkman. It's well known, mate. They have an underground base stretching for miles on the North York Moors. Right, yeah, because they've got like that. They got that listening station too, haven't they? Menwith Hill, RF Menwith Hill, which is the equivalent of Pine Gap in Australia. They have shops, banks, and all sorts underground. They test UFOs up there. You've seen? Oh right, I'll check out your channel, Jake. Diego Vera, how many species of alien are there known to the military? What's the most common type? Well, Diego Vera, there's an entire taxonomy of these aliens, and funnily enough, all over the world, wherever you live, what your race, culture, religion, etc., you will probably see the same creatures, which I think rules out the fact they're an artifact of the human imagination. Because if they were, then aliens would vary depending on where you were in the world. They would vary according to the local culture, would create different images. And it could be that the human brain is actually hardwired. Every single individual human brain is hardwired to produce certain images under certain states of consciousness. But that in itself takes fantastic explanation. I think it's far more likely that what these people perceive is objectively real. Occam's razor, skeptics. Which is more likely? David, do you think Lennon was murdered to prevent him telling the truth about a fall? Yeah, I think probably. I thought there were several reasons why they got rid of him to begin with, but I think he was going to speak out. I think he'd had enough. Rebecca, has John Lennon got a double? Oh. Hatchie, Ben, you're brilliant when you're on with Kev Baker next. Oh, thanks, mate. I've got to get in touch with Kev, actually, and ask him about when I'm going to be next on the show, because we didn't book one. The last one was all right, but we couldn't get onto TFR, so we had to just do it on YouTube. But it was a good show. This is interesting. David Splendid Isolation says, Ben, Lennon was murdered at the exact spot where the girl jumps and commits suicide from the apartment window above in Rosemary's Baby. That's weird, isn't it? And which came first? Hang on. I think Rosemary's Baby's first, because Lennon was 80. I think Rosemary's Baby sort of 77, 78. 1968. Oh, it's much older. 1968 psychological horror film. Yeah, it's much older. So this is 12 years before. And it ends... Right. It's a horrible film, and it's really, really creepy. It's horrific. I mean, it's like... But, yeah. So, obviously, Lennon died 12 years later, so it was modelled on that film, possibly. Yeah. Dr. Respect, hello. He's got like a Scrabble tile name. How do you do that, Dr. Respect? His name, his actual username looks like Scrabble tiles. They say they can't explain 143 of the 144 UFO cases. That's right. And you know what? The 144th one was that stupid balloon, the Batman balloon. Well, we in the UFO community, we worked that out for ourselves, thank you. Rabbit, Nick Collison's a good guy, honestly. He's not nasty. He's not a bad guy. I know he's controversial, I understand that, but honestly, he's harmless. And I think he's very brave. He's a gutsy guy. He's paid a high price for speaking the truth, wanting a discussion on what he believes is the truth. Yeah. DJ, you've been to the Dakota building. All right. I think there's probably a memorial of some kind there, isn't there? Rabbit, he's not a shill for Putin. He defends Russia as I do. Because I think the Russians have been unfairly demonized. I think they want to keep NATO going. They want some kind of Cold War too. They want some kind of Red Scare without the Reds. And they're trying to model a new global order on the big bad menace from Russia again, just like they did for the whole for the bulk of the 20th century. Yeah. Checking Git says Putin had a fun interview with NBC. I never saw that. I know that he did one with BBC Hard Talk through a translator, but I'll have to watch that. Yeah. David says that's quite different from the 5 to 10% of civilian UFO cases that aren't explainable. Well, David, you see, the actual proportion varies depending on whether you're willing to accept explanations. Because some of them put it as low as 1%, some put it as high as 33%. Unexplicable. Do you guys mind if I take a break? I need to get some more dragon juice. I've run out. Do you want to play amongst yourselves for a few minutes when I do that? Won't be long. We'll get back to his royal popeness in a minute, because I want to play the rest of that interview. See you in a sec. Hey guys, hope you're alright. Alright, how's it going, guys? Hello, how are you all? Hope you're doing alright. Dr. Respect says... It could be that there are from beyond the poles. We call them extraterrestrial, extraterrane. And then we have Admiral Byrd on the land beyond the poles. Yeah, the testimony of Admiral Byrd was really amazing. He described at the South Pole an area of warm land. I mean, some people say it's the inner Earth. He might have gone into another dimension. But then he described seeing essentially flying saucers with Nazi regalia on them. Yeah. Rabbit says, conspiracy theorists always look for easy answers in everything. Again, non-axiomatic assertion. Dr. Respects asks where we're from. I'm in Oxford. Dr. Respect. Michelle, I wish an alien would make me a cuppa. Yeah, I'm going to have a cup of coffee, actually, just because I'm a little bit sleepy again. I was just thinking, I'm going to delete one of my... Hang on. I'm a little bit concerned that... One of my shares might be a little bit inappropriate. There's one group I don't want necessarily everything on. I don't think it's there. Good. I'll just have a quick look at this one. Hang on. No, it's alright. I'll just double check my activity. Oh, Facebook is such a pain in the fucking arse. It really is. It's such a bloody pain in the arse. Now, you go to your activity log and now there's different categories you've got to go to. Oh, good, good. I think I'm alright. Anyway, guys, I'm going to make myself a cup. Rabbit says, let's club together and buy some Benson paint. You're talking about the patch on the wall. Now, the patch on the wall, painting over it right now would do no good. It's actually a product of damp. Now, the dampness is being sorted out because I've got a dehumidifier in here. It's up to the landlord to sort it out. Nice duck egg blue would do the room a treat, says Rabbit. Oh, so now I'm getting decoration instructions from people. Unfortunately, my little room here where I live is very typical. The stereotype of the single straight man is unfortunately true. I'm not the tidiest person in the world. You see my pile of books and DVDs there, yeah. Rabbit says I could do some. I've got some shelves. I've got one set of shelves. Yeah, I do. Please don't talk about the bloody yellow bucket. Thank you. I bet someone's mentioned the bloody yellow bucket. A lampshade, someone suggests. Rabbit says a lampshade. Well, that has a cover. It has like a hemisphere over it. But I mean, this is why I wear a hat, because if I don't wear a hat, the top of my head turns into a big, bright, gleaming lighthouse. I could stand on the white cliffs of Dover, and all the ships would be safe. I'm not sure a lampshade would help. Actually, a lampshade probably would just. It probably just make the light It would probably just make the light less bright and make it less useful. Hey guys, where are we now? Get to the bottom of this. Thank you for all the. I have to skip a few questions. I'll just skip a few comments. Sorry. David Schultz, hello, how are you? Thanks for joining me. Have you read the book The Morning of the Magicians by Louis Powells and Jacques. I think it's a French. Louis Pauwels and Jacques Bergier, if I spelled that. No, I haven't. What's it about? DJ Bluetooth's off. All right, see you, DJ. David, I posted Hugh Fogg Skywatch to my YouTube channel, Ben. Have a look. All right, David. Yeah. Hugh Fogg. Is that Hampshire? Is that the Hampshire UFO group? What is your channel? Because post a link, would you? Because I mean, David is. I don't know who you are. Sorry. You're not David Griffin, are you? No, you don't like the yellow bucket. I think the yellow bucket has jumped the shark a bit now, hasn't it? Mr. Grail, Ben, you want to see the 1991 UFO bid? 150, 1 minute 50, pretty close up. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Go ahead. Anyway, guys, you're not David Griffin. All right, David. Could you post a link? I'm just going to make a cup of coffee. Just a sec. I can just see myself now on my own little, because this is a bit of a lag on this particular studio screen here. I look when I'm sitting there making the coffee, I look like Steve Bassett in the on the poster of that film, The Disclosure President, that little mini documentary about that. What the fuck is he doing? Says Angora Rabbit. For goodness sake, what do you think I'm doing? I'm going to make you a cup, and swivels around in the chair. Love it. Oh, yeah. Do I look like Steve Bassett in The Disclosure President? Dr. Respect says, I don't want to go off topic, but do you know what's in the AZV word? I can't say the whole thing. Sorry, mate. I think that people should check because I found out it's disgusting. Yep, so have I, Dr. Respect. I wouldn't touch it with a thimble. I wouldn't even touch the hypodermic needle with a thimble. It's, yeah, you know my opinions on that. I can't even say them on YouTube, but... Oh, Rabbit. Oh, I see. He keeps coffee on the floor. That's class. It's actually a table. There's a table here, mate. I won't show you it, but there's actually a table in the middle of my room. David says, you're a great writer, Ben. Oh, thanks, mate. Thank you. Do you ever get writer's block, or does it flow once you start? How do you research and prepare for your novels? It does flow. It is like something flowing. I mean, I have to put in the effort. I can't just, the idea of that writers just sit around and wait for some kind of bolt from the blue it's not true. Well, it's partly true, but you do have to put in the effort. You do have to put in the work. But there's sometimes when I'm writing, I think to myself, right, I'm going to do this. It's me. I'm going to do it, and it's all my doing. I just write, and then suddenly I'll hit a kind of brick wall, and I won't be able to go any further. And all you can do at that point is just wait for the flow to start again. So it's a mixture of inspiration and perspiration. But yeah, David, Ben, is it really you, or have you been replaced? Oh, it is me, but then I would say that, wouldn't I, if I was cloned? Woody Black, I don't know what's in it, but it makes spoon stick to your head. Count me out. I've seen it. I mean, there are people who do have magnetic fields. I don't know if the V word has anything to do with it, but I've met a lady who could make spoon stick to herself, and she hadn't had a V word. I think she was someone who's like an alien hybrid. Something flowing, that's true. Mr. Grail, you're a good political commentator. Thanks, Mr. Grail. I do political videos too, like my Brexit one I just did. David Schultz says The Vast of the Night 2019 is a good film. Dr. Respect, the magnetic thing is BS. All BS. People jumping on a bandwagon with glue or some sticky substance. But David says they're genuinely magnetic people. There are indeed. I don't think there's a connection to the V word, but certainly there are. David Smith, I got the V word. My 5G connection never been better. Well, I'm happy for you, David. If you feel happy with what you've done, you are an adult. You decide what you do. Niall Murphy, of course, who does Through an Opaque Lens. He's a good friend of mine. I get on well with him. He disagrees completely with a lot connected to the V word and the C word. Rabbit says, lol, some people do legitimately believe that the V word is magnetic. The V word, yes, I know some do, don't they? Tina Silver says the blue t-shirt suits you. Thanks, Tina. Have you seen what's on it? Did you see what was on it? Can you see all that? I don't know if I framed it right, but it actually says just the beginning, and look what's there. That's UFO Jesus. That's one of, if you can get it from UFO Jesus' merch page. I love this t-shirt. Yeah, I got one called Told You So. I posted that on Facebook. A picture of that. The Lilac Princess. Hello. In the 1970s, my brother personally knew the chap that worked for the Forestry Commission in West Lothian, Scotland. The chap that got attacked by aliens. Yeah, Robert Thompson. What's his name? Robert somebody. Oh, damn my memory. I hate. Of course, it's normal. Hang on. It's called. Detchmont trial. The Detchmont. Robert Taylor. Yes, Robert Taylor. I've seen his trousers, Lilac Princess. And Lilac Princess says the forensic lab said that his trousers had been ripped and torn from the outside. Yeah, I've seen the trousers. Malcolm Robinson carries them around with him. He owns them now. Robert Taylor gave them to Malcolm when he died. I've seen them. I put my fingers through the holes. The trousers have huge rips. I got a photo of myself doing it, actually. That are clearly something has snagged them and torn them. And it wasn't just thorns. I mean, these are quite heavy-duty work trousers. He's a forester. He would wear proper trousers when he was outside that wouldn't get ripped by thorns. Because he obviously, like, he knows how to deal with thorns and things like that. And he describes some objects coming out of the main UFO. He saw the circular UFO, some small spherical objects, which moved along the ground on sticks. He said they looked like old-fashioned naval mines. And indeed, the police found marks on the ground indicating that had happened. And they grabbed his trousers and tried to pull him away. And that's when he collapsed and he lost consciousness. Hatchie says, Ben, it's good to know you being a hospital porter and a ufologist, that you don't want to pop around the back of the hospital into Jabba's hut. May the Force be with you, Jedi. Thank you. No, I knew Jabba the Hutt's a great villain. He really is. David Smith, don't let Steve see that. Steve mumbling. I'll be wearing this. I'll be wearing this T-shirt in my debate with Steve mumbling. I'm going to trigger the bloody hell out of it. Tina, you saw the other T-shirt. Yeah, I'll have to put a photo of this on Facebook as well. All right, David, I'm going to find your channel. UFO near Petersfield. Oh. Hugh Fogg. UFO seen near Petersfield. Okay. I'll sub to you. I assume Hugh Fogg is Hampshire. I can't find it. It's not here. Oh. Have you been shadow banned? David, I think you've been shadow banned, mate. Hello, Paul Armstrong. How are you? Nice to see you. How good to see you, mate. Or up for the Wales game. Yes, we're playing Denmark, aren't we? I'm fine. I hope they don't bloody... I'm just going to look up the scores. Hang on. I hope they don't bloody take a knee. If they take a knee, oh God, I hate seeing that. I hate seeing that. It's just a horrible thing. It's just so, it's so demeaning. It's soul destroying. Let's have a look. Rugby. Oh, that's cricket. Wales face off. Gloves are off for Denmark. Let's have a look. It's starting at 5 p.m. Oh man, I'm gonna have to. I don't know. I'm not gonna watch it if they're gonna. I'm not gonna watch. I will not watch it if they take a knee. I can't stand seeing football teams take a knee. These people we look up to as heroes on their knees because they're white. Because they're white people, and they hate themselves, or they're non-white people and they hate other people. I can't stand it. It's disgusting. All right, David, you're gonna have to send me a link, mate. Sorry, you've been shadow banned, David. I think. Hatchie says, Ben, I've met certain women that have ripped me trousers off, lol. He's bragging now. Here comes the... Well, I think Robert Taylor, if that could be, it's possible that Robert Taylor had that happen to him. It was a woman that did it. And when he left her, he realised what happened and had to think of an excuse to tell his wife. So he made up the story he'd been attacked by a UFO. No. The Detchmont Woods thing is a really good case. Dr. Respect says, over the past few weeks, I've been getting this feeling of some major event about to happen within the next 6 months and will be bigger than 9/11 and in fact will affect the entire world. Dr. Respect, me too. And he says, don't ask me why, I just get the feeling. I get that feeling too. And the reason is, I think the lockdown is nuking the fridge now, isn't it? I don't think the government are going to be able to justify it for much longer. You know, with all these vaccines and all this, Boris is smiling, saying, yes, we're reaching our vaccination targets. There's photos of people queuing up for the bloody vaccines. The government is going to have to say at some point, okay, enough people have had the vaccine. We're now going to lift the lockdown. And if they don't, they're going to... Well, the thing is, they'll have to come up with some excuse. They'll have to come up with some reason not to lift the lockdown. There's a new variant. There's this, that, and the other. I think they will have to at some point, but they will replace it with another crisis. They cannot leave us alone. They absolutely cannot leave us in peace. It's like Adam Curtis said, their role is to protect us from nightmares. But then if there's no nightmares, they lose their legitimacy and authority. And if there's no real one, they'll just make one up. The Lilac Princess says, I remember my brother saying the chap was a nice person, not a nut or crazy. I get that impression of Robert Taylor too. He was a down-to-earth, working-class guy, not prone to flights of fantasy at all. And this, like many UFO witnesses, he was just a guy, an ordinary man suddenly thrust into an extraordinary situation. Angora Rabbit says, I predict that Steve Mumbling will wipe the floor with you again. What do you mean again? David, I've searched for the video using your exact words and I can't find it. I think you've been shadow banned. You'll need to send me a link, mate. It's not surprising. I mean, it's called borderline content. And YouTube are banning it wherever it appears. Manchester is blue. Hello. UFO is like the most discussed subject in the world right now. The sheeple are waking up. I hope so, Manchester is blue. I really do. It's certainly been discussed more than ever before. As I said in my reply to that article from The Atlantic, there is no precedent for this. Really, it's not. This is completely unique within the history of ufology. This is the best time to be a ufologist in ever. It really is. Andrew Slicer sending positive energies to you, brother. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, David, you're going to have to send me a link, mate, David, unfortunately. David Smith, why you look at footballers? I think the take the knee is just highlighting racism. Why are people annoyed by it? I can't ignore it. David, I don't think it is. I think it has a much more sinister purpose to do with mind control. I discussed this in a previous video. It's to do with modelling people's personalities to fit into certain racial groups, to see themselves in racial politics as either being worthy of hatred of themselves or of hatred of others. I'm not going to ignore it. I think it's a horrible thing. And based on the people who are promoting this and their history and organisations, for example, which say quite clearly that the people promoting this are members of organisations who almost in their manifesto, almost in their about page, they'll say, we want to take over the world by controlling how people think and feel. Not in those words, they're much more gobbledygook, but much more. Andrew Slice says variant beta or alpha. Andrew, the C word has now come out in 5 variants: alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. 4 variants, because they're naming them after letters of the Greek script, which means you could have up to 24, and they won't even need a new naming system. Which means they know there's more coming. If they're going to do that, they know there's more coming. Hachi says, what a woman behaving like an unidentified flying object in the bedroom. Where is she? I'm in Hampshire. Please get over here. Fly down now. Oh, dear. Next fear porn they need, said Andrew. Well, some people are speculating food shortages. Others are saying there's going to be some kind of massive cyber attack that's going to shut down the energy grid or something. Yeah. I'll discuss that, I think, in a future video. I'm actually doing an interview with somebody. I'm actually doing an interview with somebody next week, and I'll probably get onto that. Mr. Grayle, how does one know if they've been shadow banned? Well, I've done an entire video on that, Mr. Grayle, if you check out my catalogue, because it's happened to me. It was a couple of years ago. You have to go scroll down a bit or use search. But it's called I've Been Shadow Banned. It's just called that. But firstly, your statistics, your viewing stats will suddenly drop. Mine dropped very suddenly in autumn of 2018. They dropped within literally a month. I was getting a third of the I had a third of the profile I used to have, and that has maintained to this day. But literally, if you don't sub to me, you won't see my videos. It's very difficult to find them. I've tried. I've gone to I've opened a fresh browser. I've logged out, cleared my cookies, and I've put in Ben the JR Porter. You have to put in the whole word. It doesn't prompt you. I put in the titles of my videos, and other things come up first. I've been shadow banned without a doubt. And if David is producing similar content to me, then it's likely it'll happen to him too. They'll never tell you, though. YouTube, this is why it's called shadow banning. They will never tell you what they're doing. They just say, we have earmarked certain channels who produce borderline content to be algorithmed out of the attention of YouTubers, which means somebody just searching randomly is very unlikely to come across your videos. It does happen. I mean, I have had randos approaching me, but very rarely. This doesn't mean you can't do something. It just makes it more difficult. Rabbit says, never have weather balloons received so much attention. Weather balloons have received attention for ages. David Schultz, Ben, what do you think of the collapse of the Chaplin Towers in Miami, Florida? The poor souls never knew what hit them. Most of them were sleeping. It's horrible, yeah. It's an awful thing. I mentioned it in my last video. I couldn't help noticing, and it's a time of tragedy, and I'm really sorry that's happened. I understand that Marco Rubio is going to have to concentrate on that now because it's his state. He can't get involved with the UFOs because he has to deal with this. I noticed there was a rubble pile, which you don't get with the Twin Towers, which I couldn't help noticing that. David Smith, do you believe in free will, Ben? Oh my goodness me. Philosophical rabbit hole ahead. I do, yes, I do. I've listened to Stefan Molyneux's arguments and debates about free will. I think free will is real. Certainly it pays us to behave as if it's real. I know, I've looked into this research that says, oh, but your brain starts working before you even make the decision. I think, therefore I am. Okay, I believe in the Cartesian principle. You can't deny the Cartesian principle. I know Daniel Dennett tries to, but it's a lunacy. You are conscious. I believe people are conscious. If you are conscious, then how can you not have free will? Unless you believe you go along with Dennett and his ideas about the fake self and things like that. But as Anthony Peake quipped, when Dennett said to Anthony Peake, you don't exist, there's no real self. It's an illusion. Anthony says, well, who writes your books then, Dan? David S.I., mumbling is on very shaky grounds. His arguments against the UAP subject are quite ridiculous and only reveal his fundamental desire, bias and preference. So despite his claim, he's not a genuine skeptic. Yeah, David, he's typical of the skeptics I refer to in my skeptic talk. In other words, not skeptical, believers. He's the same as Mick West, really. David, a splendid isolation. Yeah, Ben. Surprised you haven't spoken on McAfee's suicide. Well, David, I did on Hapanmo Radio the other night. I haven't done a video about it or an article because I haven't had time. But basically, look, I don't know if it's any point doing a special report on it now because I can't really add anything that other people haven't already said. But basically, it is as dodgy as a 3-bob bit. He predicts he's going to be taken out. He even has a tattoo saying whacked on his arm, which is, of course, what the mafia call it when they kill someone. He made some posts on social media indicating his days were numbered, and he says, I'm not going to commit suicide. If I commit suicide, it wasn't a real suicide. Then what happens? He hanged himself in his cell, just like Jeffrey Epstein. And that's the official story in the mainstream media. I wouldn't have batted an eyelid if someone had said, oh, he shot himself twice in the back of the head. What dirt he had on the Clintons, he probably had something on the Clintons. He's just added, just like John and the others. John may be alive. Yeah. Andrew Sly, oh yeah, they had a problem with mobile phones in Australia. Kev Baker mentioned it yesterday. All right. Dr. Respect, have you been banned? He said your videos disappeared. I'm sorry about that. And David, your views have dropped. David, yes, you've been shadow banned. I can't find your video. This is really bad. I can't find you. I put in the exact words of your title, and I can't find it. I might be able to. What I'd have to do, I might scroll down. I bet you it's like about 8 pages or something down. It's about what's this? Is this you? I found your channel. I found your channel. Here we go. UFO seen near Petersfield during Hampshire Skywatch. Right.
It's a good film, that is. Yeah.
All right, David. With Hugh Fogg, Hampshire UFO. Right. All right, I found it, David. I'm relieved to tell you that it looks like you have been shadow banned. Yes, but you have to scroll down quite a way, and most random browsers won't do that. Rabbit says, I think that's because YouTube have changed their search results to produce less of the lunatic brigade. Really, you support that? Do you support that, Rabbit? Do you support people being censored on social media because you disagree with them? Do you? I don't support that being done to you. I wouldn't say that James Randi or Mick West or Michael Shermer or any of these others should be algorithmed lower than anyone else. Rabbit says, because people like David Icke were deliberately spreading lies and misinformations for the attention. Okay, well, firstly, David Icke wasn't shadow banned. David Icke was banned. He's not off YouTube. Secondly, it's lies and misinformation is an assertion. You're making a claim there, a claim which can be falsified, and I falsify it. I made an entire... When David Icke was banned, I made an entire video. I think I did 2 videos about it. plus an article on her Panwo voice explaining how false that was. Just saying something is lies and misinformation doesn't make it so. I could say 2 + 2 = 4 is lies and misinformation. Well, does that mean that 2 + 2 will therefore equal 5? Because if the answer is no, then your whole argument falls apart. Mr. Grey Owl, free will versus determinism. Gotta love philosophy. It's like maths but with words. Yeah, it's like... I mean, I love Stefan Molyneux, as you know, I'm a big fan of. I do. I think it's because I disagree with a load of his stuff that I make reply videos to him. Yeah, because... Hatchie says, Ben, if you remember Dr. Fu Manchu, Christopher Lee played him in the 60s, and he's been reincarnated as a billy goat near a gate. We could do with Fu Manchu's nemesis, Naylam Smith. And Dr. Respect says, what Ike said 30 years ago is coming true, is it not? Yes. He predicted there would be a drive towards a one-world government. He said there would be greater authoritarianism. He said that medical procedures would become compulsory and you wouldn't be able to opt out of them. He said that there will be more... I mean, just watch David Icke, Was He Right? It's the one good documentary that's ever been made in the mainstream about David. I appear in it as well in a couple of scenes, just as an extra. Oh, the camera loves me. So yeah, just watch that. Just watch David Icke, Was He Right? It was made by a guy who started watching, a guy from Northern Ireland who was a student and started watching David in the 90s, and then decided to stay in touch, and eventually he became a film director and made a video about him. Yeah, and it's bloody good. It's really good. David Smith, who writes your books? We can still be unique individuals without free will, though. David, we can't. How can we? If we are unique individuals if we have no free will, we are only unique in the sense that we're running different programs in our software, which makes different computers. Every computer is unique, you could say, because it has different programs, because the programmers put different things in. Rabbit says the Cabal must have quickly unshadow banned him because Ben was discussing it. You listening to me, aren't you, you guys? Yeah. Rabbit says Ike was twatting on about the C word and 5G. That was clearly lies. As far as the C word goes, no, it wasn't. I've changed my mind on 5G. Like I said, I don't talk about 5G anymore. Dr. Respect says John McAfee found dead in a cell after Jeffrey Epstein. Correct connection. Rather strange that he died in the same way, and he was an antivirus creator. I wonder if there's a little joke there in the words antivirus, because of course we know what that refers to. I mean, I've used McAfee antivirus on my... I'm using ESET now, but I used to use it on McAfee. And yeah, it worked quite well. But virus, of course... Computer virus is just an analogous word for a virus, but of course there's a real virus we're worried about at the moment, isn't there? He had something. I mean, the weirdest thing like is, I mean, he wasn't, he was facing a charge of tax evasion. That's not major. I mean, he would have got a few years for that probably, depending on how much he's evaded. And how deliberate it was. Or sorry, I forgot to tell the tax man. If you say that, they just make you pay it back in instalments. But if they can prove you did it on purpose, then you can face jail. But he's not going to go down for years and years and years. There was also a strange incident where his next door neighbour died when he was living in, I think it was Peru, and he was under suspicion of murder. He was released without charge, but he must have maybe thought they were after him for trying to frame him or something, David S.I.'s free will is absolutely real, and if there's no free will, then no one is morally guilty of any crime. Not only that, if there's no free will, then nobody can really be considered conscious. It goes against the Cartesian principle, like I said. It supports Dennett's idea of the fake self. Susan Blackmore's been championing that as well. It's really odd, because... It's a fake solution to the hard problem of consciousness. This idea that this idea of self-awareness. which Descartes called "I think, therefore I am." It's the one single absolute certainty in the universe. I think, therefore I am. Everything else can be possibly untrue, regardless of how implausible it is. It's physically possible that everything else is untrue. You could be a solipsist. You could be like the king of Pointland. But the idea that consciousness can be falsified, where do you go from there? Because if consciousness is falsified, then that drags us all back to the beginning, and as if to say, well, who are you then? And you say, oh, I'm nobody. I'm nobody. But you just said, I am nobody. That's a contradiction. I am nobody is a contradiction. I am nobody. If you are nobody, then there's no one to say the I am. Oh, we're getting philosophical tonight, guys. We started on UFOs, and now we're on to the hard problem of consciousness. David says, without free will, there's no morality. Correct. There's not only no morality, there's no logic, there's no anything. There's no point, because you're just acting out a program. If you're the guy who discovered DNA, Watson and Crick, they discovered DNA, but they didn't, you see. Something just made them do it. Well, what's that something? You see, it's a philosophical insanity. It's asinine. Stephen Molyneux really does a good job in debating with the anti-free will people. He really does. Hatchie says, one wonders if we have all been predictive programmed for what's to come by Hollywood. Lol. Well, and Hatchie, you just because you have a real self does not mean that self is completely invulnerable to outside influences. In fact, I would say most people in the world are far more influenced by outside forces than I am. In terms of outside informational forces, I'm quite surprised. I'm quite surprised and disappointed, actually, how credulous a lot of people are, including members of my family. And I'm trying not to sound arrogant here, but it's just a fact. There are people called NPCs. This is non-player character. Have you seen the NPC meme? The old grey, like the Wojak face with just blank. It's a Wojak face, but just with dots and for the eyes and mouth. It's a meme that's been going around the chans for a bit. It's because this article was published by these psychologists, and they said that like a large proportion of people they spoke to appear to have no internal dialogue, which means they couldn't essentially contemplate. If you sit and think about things, about your own self, introspection, examining yourself, things like that, and they didn't have that ability. Now, NPCs, therefore, cannot change their mind about anything without an outside influence. They form everything, all their mental processes are created from outside influence, and once those mental processes are in place, they cannot be changed without another outside influence. Because they can't sit and think about it and think, oh no, that's wrong, I'm changing my mind. They can't do that. Now, it's funny enough though, I mean, if that is true, just assuming that is true, it explains so much about human behavior, about what I have observed in other people. Not everyone, but certain people I think really are like that. Now, I discussed this with Thomas Sheridan. I'm actually on his show again in a couple of weeks. NPCs are not psychopaths. I've heard someone say NPC is the same as a psychopath. That's not true. NPCs can feel empathy. NPCs can feel emotions like love. They can care about others. They can care about the feelings of others. What they can't do is steer them so they have no internal direction. It explains such a lot. If that's true, I don't know if it is true, but if it was, it would explain so much. But then would that mean an NPC would have no free will? I think the free will thing lies at a deeper level than that. Because NPCs still make decisions. They still make decisions based on the information in their heads. Oh, this is getting deep, isn't it? Not bad for a Saturday afternoon. Angora Rabbit says, what do you think of that spiv Brian Rose, Ben? I don't think he's a spiv. That's a good old-fashioned word, spiv. Yeah, that's a lovely old word you just used, Angora Rabbit, and that's a really ancient one. That is. That's from. Let me have a look. Let me just find the origin. I think it's from the World War II or something. Spiv, a man, typically a flashy dresser, who makes a living by disreputable dealings. Well, I know a lot of people like that. It's a word for a petty criminal, typically illicit black market goods during Second World War. Yeah, that's a lovely. It's lovely you use that word, but it's not used much nowadays. It's used a lot less than it used to be. I've not heard that word from people for ages, and I'm glad you used it. I think you're being unfair saying that to Brian Rose, though. Brian Rose I quite like. I like his interviews. The London Real stuff is really good. The interviews he did with David Icke were great. I mean, they will talk about the Streisand effect. When they were banned from YouTube, like everyone was pouring over onto BitChute to see them. Michel Sovereign says, I am, therefore I am. You know, Michel, that's what David Icke actually said that in one of his books. David Smith says, where are we now? Oh man, I've lost track of the conversation. Where are we now? I've lost my track. Here we go. Well, I'm asking, David Smith says, but I'm a disbeliever in free will. I might go quiet as I don't want to take over here. Now, David, feel free to say what you think, David. Don't worry. I mean, we always go off topic with these live streams. So we were talking about UFOs and we've gone off topic. That's fine. But if you don't believe in free will, have you watched Molyneux's debates with the anti-free will people? Did you not see there's a bit of a contradiction? Because you are essentially making decisions all the time. You made a decision to say you don't believe in free will. If you didn't make the decision to say that, who did? You could argue that there's like a homunculus inside me. Some people say it's God. Some people say there's a little man pulling my strings or something. Or there's a guy inside me. It's called the internal homunculus in the Cartesian theatre that makes the self do these things. But then that just regresses the problem to a deeper level. Does the homunculus have free will? If the homunculus doesn't, then is there another little homunculus inside that? And does that one have free will? You get an infinite regress. It's turtles all the way down. Ad infinitum. So that's a bad argument, I think. David Schultz says, hey Ben, Thomas Sheridan's Beyond Room 313 has been having interesting guests lately. Waiting to see you as a guest on Beyond Room 313. Oh, yes, David, I'll be on. Let's have a look. Well, I don't know if Thomas goes live or whether he records. I know I'm recording with him on the 5th of next month. I don't know if I'll be on the show that date, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot because I like his channel. I like his video about Jack Parsons. He made it's a full documentary about Jack Parsons, yeah. David, I have many UFO pictures, a few filmed. I hope disclosure does come to the UK following the USA, but Tic Tacs are nothing spectacular footage. Oh, I think disclosure is a global event, as Steve Bassett rightly says. If it starts in one country, it'll be in every country within hours. Like I said, I think Russia, it's most likely to come from Russia first. Steve Bassett's been spending a lot of time in Russia and France and other places. Rosh says, hi Ben, pride and dignity. Hi Rosh. David S.I. says to David Smith, sorry. In my experience, it's mostly atheists who also desire there not to be a God of creation, because again it means there's no ultimate morality and no ultimate moral accountability. Yeah, a lot of atheists are nihilists. But there is such a thing as atheist ethics. I mean, there's humanism, which is actually an entire social structure of non-religious ethics. But a lot of atheists reject that. Yeah, mind you, there are many Christians who behave in a nihilistic manner as well, and many atheists who do not. Stefan Molyneux is an atheist who believes he's created. He believes his unique claim to fame in philosophy is actually that he says he's actually worked out complete materialist ethics. He's got a philosophy, an entire code of philosophy. He calls it the non-aggression principle and universally preferable behaviour, and he's written books on that. It's very interesting, actually. I think he's right. It actually doesn't matter whether God exists or not. I think Molyneux's code is actually, I can't find a flaw in it. Oh, Mr. Grey Owl says Elon Musk says there's something like an 87% chance we're within a simulation. Well, you know, Mr. Grey Owl, if you there's several good videos. There's one called "What the Bleep Do We Know?" that examines, if you look at like if you go down to matter at the subatomic level, it does appear that it's not structured, it's not solid. It appears to be like a piece of information, as if this is some kind of projection, some kind of holographic projection. And there's a lot of other evidence. Now David Icke actually talks about this. He's a good introduction to that whole thing. David Smith says, Stefan does a terrible job in his debates. I've listened to them. There are many, and there may be a podcast where myself and some friends dissected his stance on a subject. David, as you know, if you watch this channel regularly, I agree with you that Stefan often does do a terrible job in debates. And you know, I, like yourself, you say you dissect his stance. I do too. Just check out an entire series of videos I've done. I've done about a dozen, where I think I take him to task and I dissect what he says, and I think he's wrong. But I don't think he always does a terrible job. I think he does sometimes. David Smith says, God or no God, if you're trying to say people want to disbelieve in free will, God to sin, then that's very rare and a straw man. If you're trying to say people want to disbelieve in free will, God to sin, then that's very rare and raw man. It's not very rare. I'd say it is maybe 30-40% of people I meet who. Actually, it's probably a bit more than that. I'd say probably the majority of people exhibits a certain level of pseudo-psychopathic behaviour. Because, I mean, this is what is promoted an awful lot. For example, EastEnders. EastEnders is pseudo-psychopathic propaganda. And it's odd because the odd thing about EastEnders is it's a very, very intelligently created piece of work. I've got to admire it simply for its skill. Obviously, I'm totally opposed to it. Because I think it's very evil, what it's promoting. But I've got to admire the skill with which they do it. I'm sure the Tavistock Institute is behind that. I bet you Isabel Menzies Live assisted. It contains snippets of cultural Marxism and also very, very powerful pseudo-psychopathic propaganda. There are so many storylines where essentially nihilism, moral nihilism, social Darwinism, and sheer bloody-minded cruelty is promoted as an admirable quality. It's promoted as a quality in people. The people who exhibit those traits tend to be the most successful. If they're a man, they'll be the most attractive to women. They tend to be the most richest and most powerful, the alpha males of the group, or the alpha females. And I get, it's funny because like I had debates with people all the time when I was a porter, because they all watch EastEnders, of course, and unfortunately my daughter does as well. I walked into her house one day, and they had EastEnders on, and I hadn't seen it for years, and I could just feel the malevolent poison coming out from the TV set. It was like horrible. I could just hear those voices going, "Oh yeah, oh it does my head in," and stuff like that. And I thought, it's EastEnders is on. EastEnders is on, and I was like, oh God. Yeah, gross. Bloody gross. And, and it's just really, I got into debates with people about this, and they say, oh, look, Benny, it's just a reflection on society. That's all it is. EastEnders, it's just a perceptively written reflection on society. A reflection on society. 12 million people every week watch that pile of shit. That that televised sewage. Is EastEnders a reflection on reality and society, or is it the other way round? Where was I? Yeah. Oh yeah, Rabbit says there's no ultimate morality. Morality cannot exist if there's no one in the room. If you don't believe in free will, then yeah, there can be no morality, Rabbit. None. For ethics to exist, there has to be conscious individuals, more than one. If you're a solipsist, then again you don't have to, or a narcissist, then you don't have to. There's no morality there. Dr. Respect says Rudolf Steiner is a good read. Anything by him will blow your mind. Correct. I read one book by his. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. It was based on a talk he gave in 1917, and he actually talks about like the Not he doesn't say Illuminati, but he talks about the a one world conspiracy of what he calls the Ahrimanic forces, that is demonic, like demons. And considering where he was at that time in Germany with the war raging around the place, you can just believe it, can't you? Michel says the prerequisite to a free will discussion is that all men are created equal in reality. Is that a quote? That's a quote, obviously, from the U.S. Bill of Rights. I think you've got to believe that all men, all people, have a consciousness. Yeah, I think all people are conscious. There are some people I believe are walk-ins of demonic entities. I think with the exception of those, people are conscious, yeah. Even NPCs have consciousness. David S.I. says to David Smith, what I've witnessed, having often discussed it with them over 20 years and having come from this place myself, of course, to admit this fundamental desire gives the game away. Oh, okay. Tachi, I hope you'll tune in to Thomas Sheridan's show with me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Hello, Dalai Lama. I can see you. That's really amazing. It's like suddenly, it's a bit like in the film What Dreams May Come, you know, where the little dog barks at Robin Williams' ghost, the character played by Robin Williams, and he goes, "Oh, you can see me, doggy." And then the angel, who's played by Cuba Gooding Jr., says, "Yeah, dogs are different. I can see Dalai Lama. Does that mean I'm dead?" Oh, I hope not. As a 12th dimensional Illuminati NPC bot, says Dalai Lama, I resent the implication. Afternoon, my fellow truth wonders. Well, thing is, if you were an NPC bot, you wouldn't be able to resent that. You see, you can't feel emotions if there's no one there to feel it. You see what I mean? Rabbit says, does NPC just mean someone who disagrees with you? No, it doesn't. Oh, I just saw that someone new joined us. And it all flicks down out of the way, so I can't see. Oh, where are we? Bonnet Darn, hello. Did you say something else, Bonnet Darn? It does, would explain so much. Bonnet Darn, the NPC theory, it would explain a lot. Yeah, it would explain a hell of a lot. David says, it's the 700-year Cathar prophecy in France on August the 21st, 2021. Many people are travelling to France, to Occitane from all over the world. Norwegian TV and US TV coverage. What's that about? Because I know what happened to the Cathars because I've read the books about the Rennes-le-Château mystery. But David, I know that the Cathars were exterminated during the Albigensian Crusade, and that the fortress of Montségur, I think it was in the 13th century. Eventually, it was laid siege. Eventually, they came out. They were all burned on a massive pyre. But what happened? What was that all about? I'll have to look into that. August the 21st, 2020. What is the prophecy? Because France is in a terrible state at the moment. I mean, when those generals published their letters saying, there's going to be civil war, well, firstly, no one was surprised because France is an unstable society, and it wouldn't be the first time, would it, that France breaks into civil war? They've done it many times before, and they go from one republic to another, and they get the guillotine out whenever there's a problem, and heads roll. It could happen again. But when that happened, funny enough, a lot of the French people said, "Oh, yes, please." I think next April is going to be a turning point because that's when they have their presidential election. If it's rigged so that Macron wins it again, then, well, what can you do? If there's no political solution, what else do you do? You can stick to the. You can stick to the. Say, well, no, we're going to stick to the rules. We're going to have elections. Then the globalists just come in and they just fiddle with all of them. If you can't make them work, the elections work, then what else do you do? David Smith says, well, I don't know an atheist who says that. Some religions specifically deny free will also. Yeah, there's I think there's some schools of Buddhism or something that deny it. I don't know enough about that, but we're getting deep here, aren't we? Getting in deep. Mr. Grail says, I'm going to attempt to throw the 1991 UFO vid link in the chat once more. All right. It's possible, like, what should happen if you post it? Normally, if you tried posting it before, because normally I have to approve it if it's a link. But if it's not even appearing at all, then obviously they're banned. But you can email it to me, bennyj74gmx.co.uk. My link's in the. You can find my email on the Panama TV blog, or look me up on Facebook and Twitter or something. Rabbit, what have you got against Brian Rose? You know, instead of saying he's a spiv, explain why he's a spiv. Hello, Ironman Spartan. Ben, would you consider putting the uniform on again and portering? Good job, that. You know what? It'd be tempting. If for some reason, if they'd ever, of course, they can't have me back unless I cleared my name. I could serve in private portering work. Yeah, I could apply for them, but then I'd have to explain I'm ex-NHS. I was dismissed. All these horrible charges that were laid against me. But to be honest, it's gone down so much, I miss it less and less every day. I don't think I'd like it. Woody Black says here, Private Walker, yes, in Dad's Army is what I think of when I hear Spiff. Yeah, Private Walker was like that, wasn't he? He was one of these people. The guy who he always pulls something out from behind his back, say, hey, do you want some of that, mate? Yeah, just £2. And, yeah, but I don't think Brian Rose is like that. David S.I. Quantum mechanics also confirms free will versus determinism. Yeah, you see, the argument against free will generally is neuroanatomical. They'll say things like, well, if you make the decision, it's proved that your brain starts moving before your brain starts working before you've even made that decision. I don't think that actually disproves free will. It's tricky, you see, because the brain. Everyone thought that consciousness would be solved through neuroscience. They'd find the I module or the process in the brain which generates these things. Because we all know that with the brain, using PET scanners, they can actually trace the thoughts that go through your brain. They don't know exactly what you're thinking yet, and I wouldn't want people to know what I was thinking, but they know the kind of thing you're thinking. They can actually monitor your brain, and they know certain parts of your brain light up electromagnetically when you think of certain things. What they can't do, though, they can't find the place where those thoughts come from. This was the great hope of neuroscience, that they would explain the whole thing. They would basically explain consciousness as an inherent process of the brain, and they can't. This is why they resorted to the Daniel Dennett model. Oh, if there's nothing to find, then there's nothing. The reason we can't find it is there's nothing there to find. Which is a circular argument, of course, but that's what they think. Paul Armstrong, it's time for Ben to return to the porthood. His lifelong battle against the shadow New World Order has now been lost. Rubbish, it's not been lost. Even if I ever return to the Porter in Fold, which I won't completely rule out. I mean, the question is, though, I could apply for a portering job in a private hospital anywhere. There's several in Oxford. But I probably wouldn't be accepted with my record. I probably wouldn't get through. I mean, there's too many people who know me. They'd probably Google my name and realise what sort of person I am. I mean, I faced very serious charges. I was accused of bullying another member of staff. Dalai Lama says, just so you all know, I remote viewed POTUS last night and the plan is still in place. Yeah. Remote viewing, Joe, is that Trump? I mean, obviously you mean the real POTUS, not the fake one. Remote viewing the fake one wouldn't be much fun. Rabbit said Brian made money selling his so-called freedom media thing. Turned out he was just streaming on Daily Motion or something. All right, Rabbit, well, again, that'd be a good prosecution. Finally, it's nice to see an axiom coming from you, actually. Some kind of point. Obviously, Brian is not here to defend himself. No doubt that there may be another side to that story. I'm willing to look at both sides of that story, but thank you at least for making some kind of point, not just asserting words. David Smith says, quantum mechanics doesn't get you to free will. It can't get... All right. This is we could go on all day with this free will stuff, couldn't we? Hatchy stuff. Nothing wrong with the spiv in wartime. They get things you can't, lol. Oh yeah, Walker was always getting stuff on the black market, wasn't he? My granny bartered with tea, so my granny was a spiv. Love her. Look, my grandmother used to. My grandmother was in the air raid protection, and she used to get black market stuff. Everybody did. It was normal. I mean, The Dalai Lama said, I had a homunculus with a death-defying radius this morning. All right. Well, but your homunculus didn't have anything, you see, because your homunculus has no free will. Michel says, when I'm writing my book, there's often an entity that disagrees with my words and my inner homunculus. Lol. Now, Michel Sovereign, that proves that you have an internal dialogue. I mean, to write a book, you've got to have an internal dialogue. It's a curious feeling, actually, when you channel your muse, as the Romans used to say. You know, there's a section in Evan's Land, which the audio book's on this channel on Hapanwo TV. There's a section which is about like 50 pages of that book that I wrote in a single day. It's the time when Evan goes into the woods and with Warren and they spy on the farmhouse. That whole scene I wrote in a single day, and literally it's about 7,000 or 8,000 words. I wrote it in a single day, and it's almost exactly. It just seemed. I didn't know where it was coming from. It just came out of me, and I was just writing. I did it in longhand on paper. Then my hand was just going like that, and every new word was coming into my head, and I was just dictating it down. And it appears in the book today with almost no change at all. I didn't have to change anything. I had to correct a few spelling mistakes, but apart from that, I didn't need to edit it at all. It's all perfect. It just came out perfect. David Smith, my exposure to certain information and my upbringing, education, to be open to that information is what convinced my brain not to believe in free will. But you didn't have an exposure to education, David, and there was no one there to be exposed to it. You say you had my upbringing in education. Whose? What do you mean by my? You can't even use these possessive adjectives unless you have free will. You say my brain. You're whose brain? How can you not believe in free will when there's no one there to believe in it? It's an oxymoron. Mr. Grey Owl says you can split the free will determinism argument right down the middle. You can make decisions freely, such as... I'm going to have to scroll down a bit because there's too many questions here. This is interesting stuff, though, isn't it? Michel says Stefan is brilliant, but often too bitter for his own good. He is, isn't he? Yeah. Angora Rabbit says David Icke is nuts. There's pretty much no crackpot conspiracy theory he doesn't believe in. How do I dispute such a carefully crafted intellectual treatise? Goodness me. You're like the neutron wrangler from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You could talk all four legs off an Arturian donkey and then persuade him to go for a walk afterwards. Now, Mr. Grail talks... We're going back to the original subject now. Luis Elizondo explained quantum mechanics. A box, in walks a dog, and out walks two cats. David, I'll check David's concern that some of his comments are not appearing If I see any that need approving, let me have a look. David, I can't see any for approval. It's possible you're putting some in and they're not appearing. I'm sorry if that's the case. Dalai Lama says Stefan Molyneux is an actor, all presentation, no content. Now Tony Topping, there's a real wellspring of paradigm truth. Tony, I like Tony actually, yeah, but Molyneux, that's unfair about Molyneux, I think. Michel Sovereign says if the truth is a box, it's an alabaster one. All right. That's part of the Rennes Chateau mystery, isn't it? The alabaster jar. You know, the Nag Hammadi Gospels, wasn't it? I think Dalai Lama says sheer bloody-minded cruelty was a great Oxford thrash band from the 80s. Mr. Grey Owl says, Ben, are you familiar with the simulation argument? Nick Bostrom explains it thoroughly, but he's so dull. He doesn't sell the concept very well. No, I heard his. I saw his debate with Sam Harris, and I think Sam got the better of him. Oh, by the way, he's been to the Bilderberg group, Nick Bostrom. Did you know that? He has been. He is a Bilderberger. Yes, he's been building burgers. Yeah. He went to. I don't know if he's at the next one, but he went to the last one. Interestingly, about the Nag Hammadi Gospel, I reckon half of it wasn't published because the story about how it turned up in the museum doesn't make sense. Because they found 4 jars. Two of them, they say they burnt 2 of them on the fire. The contents, that is the papyrus books inside, they burnt them on the fire to keep themselves warm for the night, and they took the other 2 to the museum the following day. That doesn't make sense. If you have these people who found it, it's in Israel. It was found in Israel a few years ago. Firstly, you have some guys like that have or whoever they were, who have the wherewithal to understand they found something of important historical and archaeological significance. Then they burn half of it to keep themselves warm. And then they go into the city the next day, would take it to a museum. No, they would either burn all of it or they would take it all into the museum. I think they took it all into the museum and some of it was kept back. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm just going to have to go down a little bit. Vrillon Aura, hello. Vrillon Aura says this disclosure thing was a bit of a washout. Where is the Roswell wreckage and the dead aliens? Shall we play the rest of the Popester, shall we? Let's play the rest.
And let's talk about some of the methods and particulars that they used when investigating some of these sightings. Maybe you could kind of offer some more clarity on this. This report says some of these observations could be the result of sensor errors, spoofing, and we can go into what that is, or just observer misperception from people on the ground or in the air, maybe kind of mischaracterizing what they're seeing.
Yes, that's at the low end of the spectrum. Sure, pilots are great witnesses, but nobody's infallible. And spoofing is where you use various technologies to try and, people are familiar with stealth technology to hide a radar signature, but you can do it the other way around. You can create bogus signatures, which is, of course, very useful in a military sense. But I think the thing about this report, which is very interesting, is that it talks about the
I'll just pause for a moment because the interesting about creating the bogus radar signatures. Some people said that's what Milton Torres was afflicted with. He was basically his aircraft was afflicted by a bogus radar signature, and they were doing some kind of experiment. They actually ordered him to fire his weapons. I'm just going to go back. Someone asked about the Archons. Yes, Hachi says, where are the Archons? Get Chris Everard on now. And hello to Terry Brewer. How are you, Terry? Welcome. David says, have you seen Fatima yet? David, is that a film about the Fatima encounter? Because that's really amazing. If there is a film about it, I'd like to see it. Conspiracy theorists seem to, says Rabbit, seem to imbue things they don't much like with having a sinister diabolical motives. It's a very odd way to view the world. Well, not if... well, some things we don't like are... I mean, there's things I don't like, which I don't... You know, if I go out and it's raining and I have to work all day in it, I don't like that. But I don't put it down to... I don't put that down to geoengineering that someone has created simply to piss me off. Yeah, I know that it's just nature. Dalai Lapa says, Ben, the honey monster Bentward is my only source of exopolitical insider. Hey! You come to the right place, mate. You really have. I'm going to have to scroll down a bit. Sorry, guys. There's so many comments here. Right. David Smith and David Splendid Isolation are really going hammer and tongs in this philosophical debate. Hello, Welsh Ripper. Views on Sean Atwood. Oh, he's good. He had Kevin Annett on his show. I like Sean. He's cool. He had Kevin Annett on his show the other day. I think he's unfair to David Icke, but... I still quite like him. You guys are really going at it, hammer and tongs. Where are we now? Just gonna have to scroll to the bottom. Then I'll carry on with Nick Pope. Diego Vera, what's the title of your next book, Ben? Probably the Obscurati Chronicles. I've published four. Sample chapters if you want to read them. The question is finding the time to write the rest of it, because so much is going on in the real world. I haven't had time. Dalai Lapa. Benny channels his books from the High Council. They've been very good. They've been good to me, I must say. Where we go? I'll just scroll down. David and Dave. The two Davids are... They're going at it. This is like... You guys are like the ancient Greeks, I'll tell you. You guys are like the philosophers in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You know, we sit up all the night arguing whether God exists, man. Yeah. Right, Fatima in the cinema. Oh, I'm going to have to do a Panwo roving review now, aren't I? All right. Angora Rabbit. Kevin Annett thinks the head of state of the country called Kanata. No, he's creating a kind of parallel. He's creating a kind of parallel state, because the one we've got now is so bad. I think that's a good idea, what he's doing. Long sight, can't I put comments on the screen as I address them? Oh, I can with StreamYard. Yeah, if I use StreamYard, I can. And I think you can also do that with OBS, but I don't know. There's an OBS app for doing that. I'll try and work that out. Okay, guys. Mr. Greyal, I'm keen to get your take on the UFO bid. Are you able to check your email? I can't right now, Mr. Greyal, but I will later. Hang on, I'll just have a look now. Or I'll just quickly have a look. Hang on. Let's see. All right, let's have a look. All right, here we are. 1991. Here we go. All right, I'm in there. Let's have a look. It's 1 minute 50. All right, Grey out. What's? Did you film that? It's a silent film. Oh, hang on. What I'll do is let me just put. Can I put this on screen share? Hang on. All right. I'll put this on screen share. 1 sec. I think I've seen this before. It looks familiar. Or maybe not. I've certainly seen something like this before. This is in Cumcarp, Ontario, 1991. All right. Are these things in the air, or they're not on the ground? You can't tell. It could be that down here is ground and they're on the ground. There's like you can see like that's not. I don't think that's a navigation beacon for an aircraft. They don't flash that rapidly. What on earth is that? Wonder what you guys think in chat. What do you think of this? I'm going to click a like on that anyway. That's quite good. I'll sub to you as well, Gray. There you go. Why is there no soundtrack? Was the soundtrack removed, or did it not have a soundtrack for some reason? Well, thanks for that. Much appreciated, Grey Owl. I'm afraid I can't see clearly enough what that is. I see. Where are you now? I'll go back a bit. Hang on. Where have I got to? It was filmed near, says Mr. Grey Owl film, no, it was filmed very near my location. This is old Villon. Yeah, I think I've seen it before. Oh, it looks slightly familiar, but there's bits of it I haven't seen before. David Smith says it's a landed helicopter, I believe. I don't think so. It doesn't look... Obviously, it's not quite clear, but it's there. It doesn't look like a helicopter to me, David, because it has a lot of internal illumination. It's unfortunately it's out of focus, or it's too fuzzy, and you can't really tell for certain what that is. Helicopter, I'm not sure, but you've seen it before, David. You've seen that before. An unknown individual known as the Guardian filmed it. That could be why I removed the soundtrack, because it's not sure. But that's a very odd. That's a very odd thing. But Bob Exler has done some analysis on this. Hang on, Mr. Growl says a bunch of analysis was done by Bob Exler and Spoon NASA dudes. Yeah. Well, Bob Exler wouldn't. I think he's quite good because he investigates. He's quite a high level source. I think I've seen it before, Dave, Mr. Grey Owl, and it's a very interesting looking thing. But it's unfortunately there's nothing definitive there, unfortunately. But obviously, like there may be like if there are peripheral streams of information, witnesses, documents, things like that, then that makes it more interesting. Rabbit, not all UFOs have flashing lights. That's not. I don't think that's a helicopter. I don't think it is. Obviously, if the soundtrack was released and you heard lots of helicopter noises, that would help. No, it can't be debunked, but if you could send me some links, yeah, I'd appreciate it to see what the analysis says, definitely. How odd, yeah. Anyway, should we go back to Popey?
Important cases are where these things are corroborated so that you have the pilot testimony, but also you have corroborative evidence on, for example, military radar systems, forward-looking infrared camera footage, and of course we're looking at some of that, and also satellite imagery, but that's extremely sensitive and highly classified. And of course we're all talking about the unclassified report, this kind of 9-page summary. There is a classified annex. Obviously there's a lot more to this that will go to the various congressional committees.
Well, if the classified annex, could that be leaked? I mean, there was obviously a leak from somebody, either the Senate Intelligence Committee or the Armed Services Committee, leaked it to the New York Times a couple of weeks ago. If you remember, I made a video about it, and it turns out that leak was pretty accurate, as I thought it might be, seeing as it was the New York Times. But What about the classified annex? Is it possible some of that could get leaked? I hope Leslie Kane and Ralph Blumenthal get onto that. That'd be quite something. Yeah, but Mr. Growl says there is no sound from the craft in the original vid. Okay, well that's not a helicopter because helicopters are very noisy. I think I don't think it's a helicopter, and you say it's been ruled out as a helicopter. Yeah, unfortunately, it does look blurry or it's out of focus. I'm not sure which doesn't help. But no problem. Mr. Grow's just thanking me for doing that. I appreciate that. No problem. Thanks for sending me that. I'm glad I had the chance to. It was worth going to my email and looking at actually. It is something I've seen before. I think it's very interesting. The fact that it's after 30 years, people are still talking about it is very interesting. Yeah, leak the annex, says Mr. Grail, but I think if they leak that, they would be able to trace the leak to the individual, and said individual will go to jail. Well, 10 years ago, maybe, but I think the culture is changing. I think whistleblowers are going to be treated more leniently than they otherwise would be. And finally, this came up in my interview with Jon Stewart last night. Checking, where were you? David Schultz. Ben, I was wondering if there are UFOs that crash landed, wouldn't they have some sort of distress signal for help? It's hard to say. Who knows how these aliens think and what they do. I know that if humans were in that situation, we would have some way of communication. That if there was some kind of crash, yes, that there'd be a system for rescue. There'd be a way of rescuing them. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Yeah. Dalalapa. David Icke preaches 19th century weaponized anthropological Blavatskyism, intelligentsia sophistries. But hey, what do I know? What? What you to Dalai? You're an unbeliever. Oh, Mojo, hello. Yes, I couldn't open it. They were talking about Mojo sent me a file. Right. Okay. I won't talk about this publicly, Mojo, because it's a private correspondence between us, unless you want to bring it up. But I couldn't open it. It just said file doesn't exist. Have you sent it to me again? Freelon or a galactic parking attendance. God. Now that's one for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, isn't it? Or Red Dwarf. Mm. Right. The annex would be tasty. Yeah, the annex. That's just, so obviously, if it's classic, inevitably it will be tasty reading because it's obviously something held back from the general public. I hope that these committees, obviously, they're willing to speak to the New York Times about the preliminaries, about the preliminary document which we've just discussed. Obviously, it would be more serious if they leaked the classified annex, but how sympathetic would the public be? Just think, if you're Marco Rubio, for example, I know you've got other things on your plate now with that horrible situation in Miami, but if Marco Rubio, if you're listening to me, if you're arrested and you're prosecuted or anything else happens to you, the public will be very, very sympathetic. You'll get a lot of public support. You'll be a folk hero. You really will. All right, Mojo, I'll check later on. Okay, but if you've re-uploaded it, thank you very much. Hatchie says, Ben wonders if Roswell was a psyop to cover their hidden projects 3 decades above what we can think. Yeah, no, I don't think it was, Hatchie. I mean, this whole idea. UFOs are just cover-ups for... UFOs just cover up spy planes. This is the Mark Pilkington line. It's actually this idea that UFOs are some kind of engineered neo-mythology designed to launder more down-to-earth projects by the intelligence services and military. It's not very original. In fact, it's very, very fashionable right now. It doesn't make sense, though. It's a kind of trick. You draw someone's attention towards something with the ultimate direction of reflecting it away, to deflect it away. Just think how that could backfire. Just think, if according to this logic, Bob Lazar The purpose of Bob Lazar was to stop people thinking about Area 51. How well did that work, eh, Hatchie? It's like, just imagine, let me give an analogy. Supposing two guys rob a bank, they split the loot between them. One guy goes into the woods and buries it under a tree, makes a note of where it is and doesn't tell anyone and just goes off and leaves it alone until it all blows over, until the police stop looking. Right? And doesn't tell anyone where it's buried. And the other guy buries it under somewhere else, but instead of going away and not telling anyone, he puts on like a pink tutu and a basque and high heels and jumps up and down on top of the spot where he's hidden his loot and every time a police car drives past, he waves at them and he says, excuse me, policeman, Mr. Policeman, yeah, just to let you know, there's no money buried here from a bank robbery, just unicorn bones, okay? Which of those two stashes do you think is going to be found first? Which of those two bank robbers is going to be caught first? The answer is obvious, and this is why the whole Pilkington thesis is nonsense. It can't work. It's theoretically impossible. David Smith says, Ben, I'm pretty sure that video was debunked. I might have the original video on a drive somewhere. Remember that audio can be added and faked too. Sure, well, David, if there's another side to the story, I'd like to hear it. It's a 30-year-old video. It may well be that it has been discredited. If so, let me know. Angora Rabbit. Since it had big words in it that Ben was avoiding. Oh, goodness me. Goodness me, Rabbit. Don't you ever get tired of such civility? Don't you? Do you have such juvenile behaviour? Don't you ever want to lock horns on a factual level? Virulent Aura, I think UFOs has been used as an excuse. For what? Well, they've certainly been using it as an excuse for not doing other things on a Saturday afternoon. That's true. Let's just carry on with Popey.
And Nick, yeah, I have some of the report in front of me. And you know, another angle to this as well is it seemed to rule out that this could be the work of any foreign adversary in the skies as well. That was always kind of in contention, you know. Are these aerial phenomena just somewhat for our enemies in the air as well? So I was particularly struck by that aspect.
This is a very important point. Can it be ruled out foreign adversarial?
They seem to rule that out.
Well, they certainly, yes. As you say, they haven't found evidence of it. On the other hand, while all these incidents remain unexplained, I guess almost in logical terms, they haven't completely taken it off the table. And of course, again, in an unclassified summary, nobody wants to say how good our intelligence is about the state of, say, Russian or Chinese, but also Iranian, North Korean aircraft, missiles, drones, that sort of thing.
Right, this is an important point. It's possible that publishing some kind of conclusion about foreign adversarial technology could reveal human intelligence sources. And so they may not want to publish too much in that regard. I understand that. However, as you just heard, the reason they haven't completely taken foreign adversarial off the table, I think, is because then by the process of elimination, it just makes it it actually makes it literally impossible to avoid that they are AONHCs. They don't, but no one wants to say they're AONHCs. That's the problem. Once you do that, you open the can of worms that no one wants to open, and but they know it's coming open anyway, because they know that nearly everyone who looks at this are not motivated by political concerns. Is going to conclude that the most likely explanation by far is they are AONHCs. They have to be AONHCs, or they don't. You can't prove it beyond doubt they're AONHCs. But if they're not AONHCs, then it means that China or Russia have leapt ahead. This isn't just like in the space race where Russia got the first rocket into space and they put Yuri Gagarin up there, indicating they did have a slight technological lead on the US. So that is. They're always trying to outdo each other, these different countries. But they would have to admit, essentially, that foreign adversarial powers have reached a level of technology that, to draw parallels, you'd have to go into the jungles of New Guinea and speak to the Stone Age people who live there. I've seen videos of them doing this. They go into their little village and they show them a mobile phone, and the guy goes, "That's weird," because they see a little box with colours on it making noises and things like that. We'd essentially be in that situation. Now, the only alternative if that's the case, then we better hope there's not a war. If you're American, you better pray God there's not a war, because it'd be a very short and very decisive war, and it wouldn't go well for the United States. The only other alternative is AO and HC. I'll just go to the comments now. Where are we now? So I have to scroll down, catch up. Hang on. Barry, all right. Dalai Lapa says Barry Seal's cocaine plane crashed in Central America in the 70s. In the logbook, had Area 51 landing times. Really? Because there was a film made about that, wasn't there? Oh, he's just retracted the message. Why is that? Does anyone else have anything to say about the Pope? About the Popester? Oh wait, hang on. Let's have a look. So, Dalai Lapa says, so Ben didn't understand that. And for fuck's sake, what a researcher, lol. What didn't understand what? What didn't I understand, Dalai? Oh, Villanora says UFOs have been used as an excuse. As I said, an excuse to sit around watching YouTube on a Saturday afternoon, yeah. So I'll just carry on with Popey, but that's because I didn't let him finish, so let's let him finish. But I still say there has to be AO and HCs. We're inevitably been drawn, like a piece of cloth to the plug hole of a big tub of water. If that's not very poetic, but it's like we're being sucked in towards this inevitable conclusion that they are AONHCs. We're dealing with AONHC technology.
But yeah, generally speaking, that was one of the theories. Maybe it's Russia, maybe it's China. Is any of this submarine launched, which would be a big concern. So again, I think over the next few days, one of the things to watch is what else leaks out from...
I should point out, I am going to watch because I don't believe this is the end. So Nick's right there. Now, when he talks about drones, now, the thing is, I've seen it. China has a submarine that has a built-in drone. The submarine it just has to stick at the top of the conning tower above the water. It doesn't have to surface completely. And launch the drone. The drone is like a sophisticated military one. It's not like the things that Matthew Williams flies around over the countryside. This is far, far more sophisticated and faster, more manoeuvrable. And it basically flies around, does its reconnaissance, then comes back to the submarine. The submarine then again comes up, just so the top of its conning tower sticks out. The drone lands and it dives again. But clearly, that's not what we're looking at here, because the drone is still essentially a small helicopter, like Matthew Williams is, like the things you see flying above crop circles. It's an unmanned helicopter that is restricted in its movements and its range and its capabilities by the fact that it is a conventionally powered aircraft. Just check the chat again. Yeah, Dalai. There's a film. It's a comedy film about that. I think about that they were dropping drugs, weren't they? There was who was in it? I think Tom Cruise was in it. What was it called? All right, Dalai Lapa, I didn't understand your post. Yeah, TK, hello. What did I miss? Oh God, could someone fill him in, please? Oh, here we go. Let's carry on with Popey.
People who have maybe seen a little bit more than just this unclassified summary.
And Nick, you have studied...
I want to see it too. So come on, guys, leak it. Come on, leak it.
Studied and researched and investigated so much of this. But, you know, going forward today, you didn't see the words extraterrestrial, alien, the term UFO. You don't see those words used at all.
No, they're trying to avoid using them. But we know where this is going. I mean, this is why I'm not as disappointed with that report as some people are. I mean, someone said on Facebook, right? Oh, when the report was published last night, some people were just saying, "Oh, that is the most disappointing thing I've ever seen in my life." And I thought, nah, come on, it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
In this report, and I think that would be somewhat disappointing to many watchers and observers of this. Wouldn't you agree?
Extremely disappointing. Yes, the UFO community was seeing this wrongly, I think, but they were seeing it as disclosure when the US government would come clean about the alien.
Oh, don't talk crap, Nick. Well, you must be joking. How many people actually said that? How many people literally said that? TK says, "Are the aliens here then?" Yeah, TK, they landed about half an hour ago, mate. If you'd been around, you'd have seen that. Yeah. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, they could be real or just swamp gas, says Vrillon. Yeah. It could be a truckload of burning manure. Yeah, what a pile of manure that is. Go on in, Nick.
Aliens. Well, you know, I knew that wasn't going to happen. This was
Well,
always
we all knew that wasn't. David, no, Nick. Nobody really realistically thought that was going to happen. I mean, I think that was off the table. Even before the leak, I was thinking, this is probably going to be limited truth. Was it Bryce Zabel's poll? Limited truth or don't know? If you remember from the video I did last night, I discussed Bryce Zabel's article on this subject.
to be an intelligence assessment of the phenomenon. You know, so it didn't surprise me that those words weren't mentioned at all. And I must confess that when I was doing this for the British government back in the 90s, I probably drafted some fairly similar things. And you always try and downplay it. You don't want people getting overexcited about the idea of alien invasion or something like that.
Hold on, did Pope just admit that the information was downplayed so that people don't get too excited about aliens? Did he just do that? Let's rewind a bit. Hang on. How do I rewind this? Come on. There we go.
I probably drafted some fairly similar things, and you always try and downplay it. You don't want people getting overexcited about the idea of alien invasion or something like that.
He said it, didn't he? That's a very interesting concession that Pope has just made. He's essentially saying that if you are publishing articles like this, you want to avoid being too explicit about certain points within it, so people don't get overexcited about AONHCs.
Yeah, and I think a lot of UFO enthusiasts.
I think. Did you notice he paused there? This is the interview, a guy called Andrew Kraft on Fox. He paused because I think he that thought might have just gone through his head as well.
I think you would consider yourself somewhat of a skeptic on that front.
Oh, don't be a pussy. Challenge him on what he just said. Come on.
We're quite disappointed today, but kind of, in the weeks after this, what will you kind of be looking for? Because, this was a report that was, mandated by law that Congress had to release in conjunction with the Director of National Intelligence's office. So will we be hearing about a lot more of these in the future, you think? Or is this kind of putting the, sewing this up, if you will?
Oh, damn it. That's a shame. He should have pursued Nick Pope's previous point and didn't. That's a shame. That's not very interesting, that. But anyway, where are we now? TK, no, the aliens are not here. I was just kidding you, I swear. But Michelle Sovereign says they're on their way. I hope so. Come on, I want to drink my disclosure champagne. Yay! I can say, I mean, for those of you who are late on arriving, I explained at the beginning, I almost moved the disclosure champagne to the fridge last night because I thought just in case. The Davids are still arguing about free will. That's quite something, isn't it? Poor old Nick Pope. He just sometimes lets things go. TK AONHC is my new word. It's the non-loony word for UFO, because I thought that we could culturally appropriate UAP, which we've already done, and then the officials like the popes of this world and the Chris Mellons and not Chris Mellon, but the Marco Rubios and people like that, they could come up with a new term which is not loony, and so they're not associated with tinfoil hatters and people like me. And I decided on AONHC, which stands for Artifacts of Non-Human Construction, which is probably how they would word it if they ever did come clean and admit the obvious, which they will have to. I think they're going to have to at some point, the way things are going. They're going to. That's what they'll probably come up with, something like that. Artifacts of non-human construction. Dangerous Dan, hello. He says, I'm an alien. I've been sent to crossbreed with you, Ben. Oh my goodness me. Could you send me your Tinder profile? And I hope Dan is short for Danielle or Daniela and not Daniel. Let the Clone Wars begin, says Michelle. Okay. Where are we now? David Schultz says, Ben, the film that you were thinking of is American Made 2017 with Barry Seal. Another film you should see is Kill the Messenger 2014 with Gray Webb. Both of them were taken out, but not out to lunch. American Made. Okay, I'll check those out. American Made film. Is an action American. Yeah. That's right. I think this was it. Yeah. Yep, that's the one. He flies his little plane to drop off things for the Contras in Nicaragua. In the Nicaraguan Civil War. Of course, this all came out, didn't it, with the Iran Gate thing? We have Oliver North facing loads and loads of questions about how they were basically doing secret deals with Iran to fund this insurgency group in Iran in Nicaragua. With drugs, and Oliver North, he remember he did that. He had to do he was like basically arrested and raked across the coals for it all. Really, President Reagan should have been in the dock for that. Kill the Messenger 2014, but that's the film I've seen. Yeah. Kill the Messenger. Yeah. A biographical crime thriller, about the CIA involvement to support large-scale cocaine sales to fund the Nicaragua Contras. That's it, yeah. It's a very interesting thing, what they did. Very interesting indeed. Mr. Grail, good job, Ben. You've got mad skills in all around. Entertainer, intellectual, critic, comedian, and a likeable chat. Kudos, thank you. David SI, could you increase your maximum character length for posts here? I don't know if that's possible. Let me look at the settings. David, it might not be possible. I'm sorry. Dalai Lapa's off. All right. See you, Dalai. Paul Curtis, hello. Iron Sky. Yeah, it's got a lot of clues in it. It's a very funny film, but it's really interesting. Yeah. TK, I wanted to go to talking about the anti-lockdown protest in London. I wanted to go to it. I couldn't see it advertised anywhere. But yeah, I'd like to have gone to it. But then I wouldn't be doing this, would I? If that is the case, sometimes you can only do one thing and not the other, and you have to choose. Check-in Git 1 says, but you could create the idea of an invasion, which is not what the evidence or data actually suggests. Of course, I mean, I think the idea of us being really invaded by aliens is unlikely, simply because it's already happened. It happened a long time ago. We have already been invaded by aliens. If, like, craft come down and they fill the skies and things like that, Independence Day style, I won't believe it. I won't believe that it's actually extraterrestrials. TK, so when's the disclosure champagne coming out? Oh, you will know it, TK. You will know it. 2021? I hope so, TK. It'll literally be if someone comes out and says they're AON, all they have to say is something like, "We've looked at the evidence. We can't prove it, but we think the most likely explanation for this is these are artifacts of non-human construction." If they say that, the cork gets popped. Because that's all I want. That's really all I'm asking for. I'm not asking them to say, "We've proved that they're aliens from Zeta Reticuli." We don't have to do that. We just have them to admit the obvious, which is it's between the lines of the bloody report they just released, which is these are AONHCs. It's not provable. It's the most likely explanation. TK, when Brian Cox says aliens here, TK, Brian Cox will never say that, no matter what. There's a time when I thought he might have been manoeuvring himself up the starting grid a bit by doing those interviews in the papers. But when he in the actual program that he was in, he just repeats the same line that he does before. David Schultz correctly says the Iran-Contra hearings in 1987 were damage control for the Reagan administration. That's right. Oliver North he basically took a bullet for Reagan. Reagan should have been impeached for that, and instead they just set this guy up, didn't they? And TK says yes. Reagan very interestingly says no. TK, you talking about Cox or Reagan? Because Ronald Reagan talked about how basically he made allusions to the idea that an alien threat could unite the human race. Brian Cox says they're aliens. He just thinks if they exist, they're millions of light years away. It's the old Carl Sagan SETI line, Rabbit said, "Ben, I thought disclosure was going to happen 6 years ago. He doesn't have a good track record for predicting things." Hey, Rabbit, I thought it was going to happen in 2015, and it didn't. But that doesn't mean it's never going to happen. It means I just got that bit wrong. Let's carry on with old Popey.
No, this is not the end of the conversation. Not by a long way. This is the beginning of the conversation. And I think everyone now who has received this report, in one sense, people in Congress are just going to be just as slightly disappointed in this as maybe the UFO community. And if the answer from DNI is these things are in our airspace, but we don't know what they are, the response from Congress will be, we'll go back and find out. And that's what's going to happen over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to accuse Nick Pope here of being part of, being like downplaying this. But honestly, I'm surprised to hear Pope saying that, because I can't deny that's the case. I don't think this is just going to what's been published is going to be a dampener on people's curiosity. It is asking questions. As someone said on Twitter, it reverses the Condon report, which was intended to dissuade public interest. This doesn't really. This is why I don't think it's as bad as it appears. There's some people are very cynical. There's no doubt that it is on one level an appeal for budget allocation. You can't deny that. But anyway, let's let Popey continue.
And as I say, one of the best things about this, and it is good news, one of the best things is it says this is a preliminary report. So there is clearly more work to be done.
Yeah. As soon as I saw it was 9 pages long, I thought, no way, this is just the start, surely. And indeed, they did say that more would be coming. It did say preliminary. Also, the UAPTF has to do a public report every 6 months anyway, so there'll be another one in December, no matter what happens. How's it going in chat? Let's have a look. Welsh Ripper. They're kicking off soon, aren't they? I swear, if anyone takes a knee, I'm gonna. In fact, we'll go and watch that in a second because they're kicking off in a minute. But I might go and watch that. But I will if they take a knee, I'm not going to. But I was just thinking, yeah. Lime Specs says, sorry, football is on now. Hello, Lime Specs. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to end it in a minute and go and watch the football. I want to see Wales win. But if there's any, I'm not going to tolerate any knee taking. But apart from that, I will go and watch it. But TK asked me here, are you a skeptic of what Professor Brian Cox says? Yeah, I am. I'm not so much a skeptic. I just think the man is unpleasant. He's arrogant. He's ignorant. He knows absolutely nothing about anything other than particle physics, which he knows an awful lot about. I agree, more than I'll ever know, which is why he's been put in the media to comment on everything other than particle physics. He is a perfect, useful idiot. He is he's like a blinkered whore for propaganda, and he's the most extreme example currently in the media. Lime Specs, yeah, I did read your comment on the notice. I actually read them out later, you know. And you did say you might forget. That's fair enough. No problem. I appreciate you joining in. I know who you are now, so and we're talking on Facebook and things, yeah. Paul Curtis, Pentuck. Yeah, it's good enough for Pentuck. It's bloody amazing, isn't it? Rabbit says, it means that, Ben, that if aliens ever did visit the Earth, it's very unlikely governments would be able to keep it quiet. You, as usual, are just desperate for a conspiracy theory. I've explained exactly why it'd be very easy to keep it quiet. If you watch my SETI video, Rabbit, I explain how the flows of information regarding a breakthrough with the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, plus the flows of information of a crash retrieval on the Earth, are totally different. If we picked up a signal from another planet, from a distant star, you couldn't cover that up. That would be impossible. It would be a far too top-heavy conspiracy. Astronomy is the one true democratic science. You can't have covers up in astronomy. TK, we're not going to get stuffed by Denmark. That's it, I'm putting it on. Where is it? Where's the football? I'm putting it on, boyo. BBC Sport. Let's have a look. They'll probably show it live. Let's have a look. Here we go. Right. They've just kicked off. Do I have a TV license? I don't, but I'm going to say I have. Actually, we do here. 0-0. I'll put the sound down, but I'm just going to have this in the background. Here we go. There we go. I'll just minimise it. Hang on, so it's in the background. There we are. So here we are. I'll put that over there like that, and let's put this on like that. There we go. There we are. And now we can watch the football, can't we? Well, we're playing around here. A big Welsh leek stuffed with Danish bacon sounds tasty. TK, it very much does. No, man, I can't concentrate. I can't concentrate. All right, look. Good luck, Wales. Yeah, Phoenix Rising. Hello. I want to give you a hug. Ah. You too. All right, I'm not live streaming the BBC now. I plead fair comment on. I plead fair use on that. No, they're not going to have me just for that little bit, that little quick thing there. Also, besides which, I bloody recorded it. I'm recording this anyway. Oh yes, OBS allows you to record your stream on your internally while you are streaming, which means that if the worst comes to us, I'll just upload the recording to another site, because, of course, the thing that we've got to remember... Am I still on screen share? Hang on. Oh, bloody hell. I'm still on display capture, that's it. Yeah, just fair use for Elon, yeah. Besides which, you've got to remember that, you know, anything you YouTube bastards deprived me of on my channel here, that includes your stupid shadow banning, because of this borderline content I'm supposedly taking, will go straight onto BitChute, it'll go straight onto Library, it goes straight onto Odyssey. I now have a Rumble and brand new YouTube account as well. So you can't silence me. Oh, thank you very much, David Shaw. She says, he quotes Gore Vidal here. Ben is not a conspiracy theorist, but a conspiracy analyst. That's right. Just before he died, actually, Gore Vidal actually admitted that the 9/11 was an inside job, or at least it was a lie hop. That they let it happen on purpose. Michelle Sovereign. Oh, you've sent me some energy. Thank you very much. You're yawning. Oh, you appreciate that. You can't silence Ben, says TK. Absolutely not. All right, guys, let's carry on with Pope. I'm going to end it in a minute because I want to watch the football too. Let's just finish. How much we got left? Just 1 minute left.
And
of
we've
Pope.
got past the stigma on this subject now, thank goodness, and we can begin to treat it as the serious defense, national security, and intelligence issue that it is.
And Nick Pope, just lastly for you, what is it with the human being's desire to, figure out if there is anyone else out there? This kind of not really confirming a lot of the priors of that community, but we do have this somewhat innate, inherent need as human beings to figure out if we're the only ones here.
Well, that's a pretty obvious question, isn't it? I mean, the answer is obviously. I mean, whether we are alone in the universe or not, Arthur C. Clarke said, both are equally astonishing, whether we're alone or whether we're not alone. I personally, I'm so sure we're not alone. I'd bet anything. I'd bet my life on it. But it's obvious. I mean, it's obvious that a curious species that looks at the sky will ask that question. It's almost a no-brainer. But let's see what the Popester says.
I think we do. I agree. Are we alone or not in the universe? Are we being visited? These are some of the biggest and most profound questions we can ask. People are endlessly fascinated by this. And why not? I am. I hope it's true. I hope this is extraterrestrial because of all the hypotheses being bandied around. That would be the most interesting.
You know very well that it is, Popey. Come on. You know very well that it is. And you keep saying, all this, we can neither confirm nor deny. We can't rule it out. He won't commit. This is the thing. He's not changed his position, actually, for the whole time he's been on the UFO scene.
And impactful, for sure.
All right, Nick Pope, leading expert on all things UFOs. Thanks for coming on News Now from Fox Tonight to discuss this 9-page report that we were highly interested in.
He's the leading expert on all things UFO. He's the leading expert. No, he's not. He's not. He's just a guy you have on speed dial if you're in the media. And people like that are generally not experts. They're not absolute experts. Any goals yet, guys? Oh, David Schultz is off. No worries, mate. I'm going to end it now, actually. Villanora quite rightly says, unknown craft flying around. I would say it's a pretty much an intelligence concern. Yeah. Vrillon, he's too neutral. That's the thing. Pope, firstly, he's not the leading expert. He ran the UFO desk, things like that. And some people are even questioning that now. I don't know if that's true, but he is a bloody spider. Get out! That spider was crawling down on me. I didn't hurt it. I just pushed it away. He's just, like I say, he's the guy who, for some reason, has worked his way into the position. If you're in the media, you want to do something on UFOs, you have him on speed dial. The guy who'll come along and say, "Oh, it'd be nice. Well, I do hope this is true." Whereas other people, like myself, if I was in that position, I'd be saying, "Look, this is without a doubt AONHC derived phenomena." I mean, I can't prove that, but it's as sure as it's possible to be sure of almost anything in this world. We're looking at the AONHC hypothesis as correct. That's what I would say. But of course, maybe that's why they won't allow people like me to talk in the news like that. Any goals yet? I'm going to go and watch it. All right, guys, I'm going to go and watch Wales thrash Denmark. Sorry, Pierre Knudsen, if you're listening. And Carsten and the other people. I've actually, as you know, I've been to Denmark and I spoke at their conference. I had a great time. So I filmed. But I want to just say thank you to all of you for watching. Like David Splendid Isolation. There's still 30 people watching. David Smith and Vrillon Aura and Angora Rabbit and TK and Michelle Sovereign and Phoenix Rising and David Splendid Isolation and David Smith and Welsh Ripper, who's now not listening to me because he's watching the football, and I don't blame him. I'll do the same now. Paul Curtis. All right, guys, Dalai Lapa. Hey, guys, you're welcome, Michelle. Do you know what? Just to let you know, I'm going to have to do a comments reply video this weekend because we're now... Hello, Carol. Carol, not singer. How are you? I am going to have to do a comments reply video this weekend. I'll probably have to start on it quite soon, actually, maybe even this evening. Because I'm not going to get another chance. Maybe I will if the... Well, actually, it may not be so urgent because if the UFO Academy obviously has changed dates. Hello, Alex Ritchie. Hi. But I'm going to have to do one anyway. I was going to say I wouldn't be doing another video until the week after next, but I probably will do one now because probably either midweek or next weekend. All right, guys. But a comments reply video coming very soon. Next video probably. Thanks very much. It's been very interesting. I don't feel too bad about this particular report. I really don't. It's not as what I thought it would be. In a sense, it's better than I thought it would be, actually, because I always said I thought it would be in line with the leak from the senators, and it is, but there's also more in it. So I don't think we should get too downhearted by this. It's not disclosure with a capital D. Of course, it's never going to be that. I don't know anyone who really thought it was going to be that. But it's not bad, actually. It will ask more questions. The fact that just now it's going to, as Pope said, I'm quite surprised actually he's taking this line. I know I'm trying to work out his ulterior motives, and I can't right now. But this is going to ask more questions. This is going to make more people want to know, to delve more. Hopefully, what I'm hoping now, if you are on the Senate Intelligence Committee or the Armed Services Committees, leak the secret annex. Come on, mate. If you get caught, people will be 100% on your side. The judge will throw it out. Come on, leak it. Let us know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Come on, Wales. Come on, Wales. Good night. And God bless.